And we are live. Good evening, everybody. Welcome, you guys to, I guess, a day in the life with Ali, BAM, Body and Mind, radio, blog, television. We are here this evening, bringing you guys some much needed information and thought we'd share some of the things that we have been experiencing abroad. I have a fantastic lady here on with me this evening who is, you're abroad now and I'm not.
Yes.
Yes.
Last time we spoke, you were abroad and I wasn't. So
We have switched places, but this is a topic that I think comes up quite often. So I thought it would be cool. We talked about sharing some of our experiences with our listeners because we women, we know that one of the things that comes up eventually is dating.
yes.
We're ready. Y'all know. So we'll set the stage. 2020, 2021. We've seen a mass exodus from all over, but specifically from the US because we're from the US. And we are seeing more Black women exit the US and start literally move for a year, 6 months to a year at a time without the plan to return to the States. Or months and months at a time. I know you're going to be gone for some months and stuff like that. And as a part of that, you start to think about real life stuff, companionship. Even if you got friends, like a lot of our friends aren't doing the same thing as we're doing, or we're not in the same place. How many of us that are literally doing this mass exodus, our friends are with us for the 4 months? Now, I've had people visit me. When I first started in Tulum, I had 3 people visit me. But most of my friends, they're not doing, just aimless 2 year to 20-month traveling. And so we have to start considering dating while we're abroad and what that looks like. So y'all, that's what today's topic is going to be about. We're going to get into it. So I want to introduce you guys to my special guest for the evening, Miss Sonja Unapologetic is here in the building. So welcome. Thank you, Sonja, for coming on and doing this talk with me. Sharing some of your experiences and your thoughts, some do's and don'ts, red flags, all this good stuff that we're going to get into. But why don't you share with the listeners, everybody that's viewing, who you are, what you do, and where they can follow you.
Okay, I am Sonja. I have a YouTube channel called Sonja Unapologetic. I talk about Black women living abroad, but from a perspective of mental wellness and living a free life. So Black women living. I feel like I had an echo for a little bit. Okay. Yes. So on my channel, you guys will see a documentation of my journey here in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. On my channel also, you'll see the faces of several other Black women who are my sisters here, who are sharing in this journey. But also, so on YouTube, if you go search Sonja Unapologetic, you guys can subscribe to my channel there. And also, I'm a writer as well. So being here in Playa del Carmen and just away from the U.S. for a while, that allows me to focus on my writing. I'm a screenwriter, so I've done a couple of short films to where I've written, produced the short films, but then now I'm working on a web series with some other writers in Dallas, Texas, where I moved here from. So working on that, but also working on writing some feature screenplays while I'm here in Playa del Carmen. I have the time to really focus on my writing. So also you can follow me on Instagram. It's at Sonja Unapologetic on Instagram as well.
Awesome. So y'all see, we out here doing stuff. There's so many ladies that are talented in so many different ways, doing so many different things, and deciding to just like cut ties with the US. That's going to be a whole nother, I think, talk, which is one that you had on your YouTube channel that you welcomed me to join. And I can't wait to do another one, because I feel like the more people, women, whoever it is, as we kind of, go through whatever it is that we're going through, a lot of us are starting to make these decisions to explore something outside of what we think we know, right? And to be able to share those experiences, how we did it, why we did it, I think is encouraging and inspirational to other people doing it. So what you're doing, and you just kind of packed up, left, went to Playa del Carmen, and you got your apartment, all this stuff, y'all. It literally can be that easy.
Yes.
It can be. So talk about that just a little bit before we get into the dating part. About how was that moving? Obviously you didn't just decide. Maybe you did. It's Thursday. I'm gonna pack up everything and move down to Mexico.
Like, what I'm gonna do this weekend? I'm gonna move to Mexico this weekend. But no, it wasn't that sudden. I did 4 trips to this area, Quintana Roo, the state of Quintana Roo, Mexico, from 2020 through 2021. I did 4 trips. I spent a little bit of time in Tulum, but it was basically just Tulum and Playa del Carmen that I spent time. And I knew that Playa del Carmen was more of a fit to live than Tulum, in my opinion. So I knew that when I spent a long period of time outside of the U.S., that Playa del Carmen was going to be it. And a big reason is because the sisterhood is amazing here. As a Black woman, you will not be alone. I don't care if you move here by yourself. Unless you want to be alone here and not have any contact, with anyone, just kind of stay to yourself. But you will not be alone here. There is a sisterhood. So every week you're going to be able to eat dinner with some sisters, go do a brunch at some day, go to the beach with some sisters. Pretty much every day of the week, you can decide to plug into a group event with some sisters here. So it's happened for me from taking those visits here, meeting more and more friends. And so once I got here, I had people to help me out to say, look at this apartment complex, talk to this real estate agent, have them, show you some properties. So I had the support here. So I've been here, I think 5 weeks now. It's been 5 weeks of my journey. Time has flown.
Isn't it crazy how, you can spend a lifetime thinking about doing something like this. And then when you do it, like honestly, the 20 months that I have been gone, I swear I feel like I just left yesterday. Like, honestly, I'm like, God, I've been gone. Like 20 months is a long time, because I'm talking in infant years. You know how when you have a baby and,
a whole human being start walking and talking with them.
They're 34 months and this and that. And, so 20 months is a long time, and it's going to go by so fast. And what you experience, because I started technically in Mexico, I started in Tulum. And it wasn't even really a start. Like, you literally plan to move there to, get away, to, do your mental kind of refreshing and create some space for you. I went on a 2-week vacation and just never came back. And so y'all, it happens like that. It can literally happen where you're out and you just, the comfort, the camaraderie, the experiences, and when I say experiences and adventure, I ain't talking about you got to be jumping off of cliffs, unless you want.
People will. Some people doing that all the time. You can jump off cliffs every week if you want to, and swim with dolphins every week if you want to.
Yes, but you don't have to. Like, you literally, I've seen some of your videos, your vlogs, when you're walking the streets, and it's literally just like living, just like you're in the States. You just happen to be somewhere else. And sometimes, like, if you don't even tell someone where you are, unless you like go by a lot of signs and they're all in Spanish, most people aren't necessarily going to know, you know what I'm saying? And that's the beauty of travel. And that's why this component of talking about dating, when you're looking at, you know, going abroad for an extended period of time, whether it's, you know, you found a job. If you guys go on my YouTube, I interviewed a lady that I met in Thailand, and she came there specifically to teach English as a second language. And she's going to be there for a year, her first time being abroad, like that far abroad. And she just literally just up in cold turkey did it, you know. And you know, so you never know who you're going to meet along this journey, you know, these, you know, months or 2 months, 3 months. But as you're going along too, you're going to be looking potentially, not everybody, but some people are going to start looking for companionship. Like I'll say, when I first started, I wasn't even thinking about, because I was on my detox journey, cleansing myself, finding myself, you know, I'm trying to remove myself of the word toxic and trauma, but it's real, you know, and we have a lot of things that we carry through our lives as, you know, we're going through. And, you know, I'm 50 years old now, so I've got 50 years worth of backlog, right?
Yeah.
And so going through that process, but then I literally had to sit and go, but I've always wanted a companion. I've always wanted a lifelong companion. It doesn't have to, we won't get into what that is defined as, but I've always wanted that. And so it's time to have a real conversation with self around what that looks like. And so here we are today talking about dating abroad. So quick intro for myself. You guys who are on my channel and YouTube and stuff like that, you guys know me as Ali, Bam Body and Mind. It's up in the corner over Sonja's head, actually, wherever the camera is. It's over there. It's over there. Bam Body and Mind, Blog TV Radio. And you guys, I've been on this journey for, like I said, 20 months. But, you know, I've been traveling for quite some time solo. And for me right now, my focus has really been on how do I present this and showcase this and share this with you guys in a way that you guys actually get to experience this, you know, see what it's like and see how easy it can be to get up. And even if you do it in spurts, you know, if you've got the time, if you've got the flexibility, I'm going to tell you guys, COVID-19 is a silver lining in some aspects, because now we cannot say that we cannot work from home, that we cannot find jobs that are, you know, online and, you know, things like that. And as we're doing this, part of what I've also been sharing is how you start saving. One of the biggest things that, one of the easiest thing, or not easiest, one of the things that we control is how we spend our money. You might not be able to get a new job, but you control how you spend your money. And so I talk about ways to save and stuff like that. I also have a travel course that I have released. It is on teachable.com. It's called Bamtastic Journeys. Well, the school is called Bamtastic Journeys. And in that, my first travel course is Get Ready, Get Set, Travel. So if you go, actually it's in my bio, you guys can check that out if you're interested. And that gives you the beginning, getting started to social engagement and the emotional health things that you're going to deal with when you go abroad. Like if you haven't traveled long term, a lot of people don't expect, like what we're talking about, this dating part is social engagement or emotional health, you know, the comfort of being around other people that you know, and how do you navigate through that space. So I talk about some of those things in my course. And then I also have merchandise, y'all, out there on my spread shop. But the link is in my bio too. So the merchandise is like inspirational sayings or travel little sayings and things like that. And some of my, just the logos and things like that for my respective businesses. And outside of the travel, you guys know I do, I'm a lifestyle transformation coach or guide, and teach yoga, both I don't know like where home is now. So when I say globally, that includes the United States. So because I plan to be gone so much from the United States, it's going to be a global and international trip for me to come back to the States to teach yoga. But I do that as well. So that's kind of my spiel, you guys. So let's get into the nitty gritty. So, like I said, let's start. We're talking about dating abroad, do's, don'ts, red flags, experiences, what it's really, really like, and what, ladies, you guys can, based on what our experience is, what you can look forward to or prepare yourself for. So, Sonja, do you want to start off? Because let me set the stage really quick. I kind of want to, and this will come out as we're talking for those who are on. Thank you guys for joining, everybody. Hey, Erica, I just saw that you posted. I moved to Puerto Vallarta. Would like to check out Playa for the summer. Would love to connect. So, yep, there you go.
Please do on IG, Erica, connect to me on IG so you can be able to connect with our sisterhood and do some type of, maybe one of our, dinners or brunches or whatever. So you can IM me on IG, and yeah, I would love to connect.
Awesome. And so I want to state that what we're talking about is we're going to naturally compare it to dating in the US, okay? Because that's what our experience is, dating in the US. And so when we're talking, there's some clear differences that we will point out, and a lot of it's cultural. And so that's like the most important thing, and that's, I think, the kind of the exciting part, as well as the nuanced part of dating when you're abroad. And that's why we're here, is to kind of give you some of these tidbits about what to expect. So, Sonja, I'm gonna turn it over to you. You want to share any of your experiences to kick us off with
Yes. First off, I want to piggyback off of what you said, like the whole idea of you start out the journey living abroad and you're like, I'm not worried about dating because I'm worried about me. My focus is on me. Like, I'm focusing on myself. And I think a lot of times, and that's wonderful. I feel like that is very necessary. But a lot of times we lie to ourselves that while we're focused on ourselves, that we still do want companionship. And, whether that is a little bit down the road, or even while you're working on yourself, you're still thinking about, wow, that'd be nice, especially in a place like Playa del Carmen. There's some of these rooftops and the music is set nice, and they have like the little, not only the, chairs, but like the little beds, to where, you can be on the rooftop in that little cabana bed, when the music is nice and the sun is going down. Your girls is cool, but you like, man, I wish that
can I rub up on something?
yeah, have me a boo up in here, so yeah, it's like you definitely I think it's very important for us to not continue to lie to ourselves and feel like in order to heal, we have to tell ourselves, like, I don't want nobody. It's like, I'm just, just want to focus on me. And I think that's, very important. Being in Playa del Carmen, or just, I'm sure for anyone being outside the US, period, when you're in a different country, it allows you to get to know yourself and just observe how differently maybe the male species interacts with us outside of the US. It really, can feel different for a Black woman, because I feel like a lot of times as a Black woman in the US, not that Black women are not getting hit on, left and right, or, getting approached and asked out on dates. But a lot of times that you feel like you can kind of just go throughout life a lot of times without, people, really approaching you all the time. Like for me, I felt like in the US, rarely do I get approached. A lot of people are like, oh, maybe because you're not being approachable, maybe you're not doing this or whatever. But I think a lot of times, unfortunately, we're not considered the most, desirable, in the US. And not that we don't find ourselves desirable, but there's just certain politics of things that happen in the U.S. and kind of clouds, everyone's views. Like here in Playa, if a club is looking to like who's the hot girls that I want to have in the club and the ones that's going to gain a lot of attention, it's going to be a group of Black women that they want to let in the club. If that's in the US and you in Miami, we are the last. They may not let us in the club at all because
we standing in the line. The club is closed and we still standing in.
Yeah, you're gonna see everybody else getting in, but we're not the aesthetic.
Right.
I notice here that we can't go anywhere without people wanting to take pictures and wanting to approach, and wanting to be in our presence. So that is something that's going to be different than what you experience, in the U.S. My experiences with men here, I'm not even gonna say it's more aggressive. It's different in the way of some things that they would think that's not disrespectful is disrespectful. Like one of my stories here that had everyone laughing. I get laundry service here because my apartment doesn't have a washer and dryer. The little laundry delivery boy, he had picked up my laundry several times, and then one day he, brings back my laundry. He's like, "You're just so beautiful." And so I'm noticing like he's still holding my laundry back. I'm just like, okay, is he gonna give me my laundry so I can pay him? And so when I went to reach for my laundry, he kissed me on the cheek. And so I'm just kind of like, I'm thinking in my head, okay, now I have to find an entirely new laundry service.
So then, like, you doing your intimates and stuff. Lord have mercy.
Yeah. You don't want nobody smelling through your clothes like that, So I'm like, I need to find a new laundry service. But like, I would say not even 10 minutes after he left, he messaged me like, this is on their company WhatsApp number. He's just like, "Hey, can I come back later to spend time with you at your apartment?" And I'm just like, "No, I'm sorry. No, that's going to be a no." And he's like, "Well, why?" And he put like the sad face. And so it felt so interesting that he felt like, why is it as a stranger that I can't just come back to your apartment? And
Right. They don't see that. They don't see that at all. And they become highly offended by it as well, because so we talk about rejection in the States all the time, right? We talk about, men don't want to be rejected and stuff like that. But I'm going to tell you something. We hear all the time, men, we're not going to approach because you might say such and such. But when we go in other places, they approach first. They might not like the rejection, or they'll keep kind of, pressuring, why not? Can I? Why? I like you, this and the other. But they are not afraid to approach. And that's one thing I do like, because you said it earlier. It's basically, and that's the craziest thing, that you also feel like we, as beautiful as we are and as we know we are, society as a whole can make us feel like we're not desirable. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the reasons why I really encourage Black women to start traveling. There are so many Black women in all these groups that talk about they're single, they can't find a man, they can't this, they can't that. I really encourage you to travel, and I'll talk more about it as we're going through this, why I encourage the traveling. I might hit y'all with some stuff that is going to eat at the soul a little bit. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I think I notice is we are a commodity everywhere except the United States. Mm-hmm. Pretty much everywhere except I'm sure there's some pockets where they like, mm-hmm. But I haven't been anywhere yet where, and I'm not talking about, and I know somehow we get into like fetishing and stuff. And I said, what's the difference in any color man fetishing? Black men fetish over Black women too. Mm-hmm. So big booties and this and that, all of this stuff, right? So this is an adult show, so we're going to have adult conversation. Mm-hmm. So men fetish in general because men like what they see, you know what I'm saying? So, so for whatever reason, we always have this thing about, the other fetishing over Black women when everybody fetishes over Black women, right? But I think what it is we do see it's a whole different energy when you go, and they don't care if they 2 feet tall, they don't care if they skinny mini, they don't care if they ain't
skinny mini.
I meant skinny. Well, that don't help you. Y'all know, and even that, they don't care. They don't care if maybe their money ain't all of that. I mean, some of them do, because I've had some say, you know, I had to wait to approach you because I see I need to have my stuff together, right? But when they see something that is beautiful, they will call it out, and they are not afraid to call it out. And there's reasons, systematic reasons for that as well. But at 50 years old, to your point, when do I start saying this is part of my recovery? This is part of me loving me, is to be in a place or position myself where I can be loved. Why do I have to love hard and give all of my love, but receive struggle love as a result?
Yeah, and I feel like with that story that I just told, it's like, man, it had all the ladies here laughing. And, you know, a lot of times when we have, you know, one story that may seem a little cringe, won't people use that Black woman story to see, yep, that's why I told y'all, you know, these, you know, men fetishize you. They just want you for one thing. It's just kind of like, you know, on the other hand, you know, that funny story that I've had, I have, you know, friends here who have been living here like a year, you know, some already have been here 6 months, and they have been dating, and they've been going out on dates. They've been receiving flowers. They've been, you know, and I've spoken to a lot of them, and it hasn't been a sexual thing, you know, it's been to where the guy is getting to know them, or, you know, they choose to do what they do, but it hasn't been, you know, a situation to where they felt like, you know, they couldn't build something, you know, with the guys that they're dating. So, you know, we'll have those cringe stories, you know, with whatever guys that you know, date, but there's a lot of, you know, women here who are dating, and there's so many different options, you know, here. Like, you may decide that you're going to get connected to the expat community and, you know, the Black expat community, because you're looking for other Black men who are maybe Caribbean or who are British, or, you know, or other Black men from the US. That may be your path that you want to do here, or get on the dating sites and decide that you know, are going to, you know, do whatever preference, you know, you have. Or you might decide that, you know, you're going to date someone who's local here and who's, you know, lived here all their life, or just other expats of other cultures from Europe and, you know, wherever. So, you know, there's, you know, different ways for people to do things. Yeah.
You just mentioned dating sites. So one of the things that I noticed since I've been on this road is everybody is on Tinder. So have you met people, you know, are you a Tinderer?
A Tinder, because I did a lot of online dating when I was in the US, and I tried it off and on for years. So I think I tried it off and on for like 7 years, maybe 7 or 8 years. And maybe I need to try it in another country outside the US. But I just felt like it was stressful. I did a whole video about just some of the stresses of dating online, and just some of the things that you go through. So so for me, and maybe I need to give it another shot, just like, you know, I'm in another country experiencing different things. Maybe I need to give online dating another try, just in, you know, a different setting. So we shall see. But I think I've been scarred with online dating from my past experiences. So we'll see. I know y'all hear a lot of honking here. I never know what it is here in Playa del Carmen. I'm sure it happens in other Mexican cities to where you hear like this little honking. It sounds like a little circus clown. I never know what the hell that is outside.
Is that the truck that goes by and they have the speaker thingy? Or
I hear that too. I think that little honking out there is probably just someone kind of announcing that they're selling something. The other locals probably know exactly what that is, but for me, I'm just like, what?
Is it your laundry guy?
You say, is it my laundry guy? Oh, don't have that laundry guy come back here.
But so I'm going to talk a little bit about what you said, you know, when he approached you and all of that, and you can share if you want. And this is how I kind of was in the beginning, because I really was just on myself, you know, development and all of that, and I really just wasn't really thinking about anybody, you know, at all. But it was almost like, no, you know, like, you're not what I envision. You're not what, and I mean, it anybody can fall in that category or whatever, but it was, you know, I think a lot of times Black women, we have the stigma of the Black king, right? And you got to look a certain way. He got to be this, he got, you know, all of these things. But how does that fit into traveling like a nomad, or long-term travel, slow travel, or expatting, completely leaving a place? Because that circle of friends, so you might have 100 people or whatever that are part of this group, 200 people that may be a part of this group, but you still don't find a connection, because that the percentages are still really small, right? And one of the things that I noticed, you know, and part of my kind of repelling back, you know, when someone would approach me like, no, you know, and not even considering it. And I, you know, I had to go through a process of, why wasn't I even considering it? You know what I'm saying? As open as I am, wait, let me put my fingers in there. As open as I am, was I not even willing to allow love, however love approaches, you know, because I have this mental view in my mind of what it's supposed to look like, and why is that, right? And so those are the things that I've like literally been uncovering over time. And I think that's part of this trauma thing. That's part of, you know, the beating up on ourselves, and, you know, feeling guilty if we are loved, or you were talking about somebody bringing flowers. I mean, how simple is that? How simple is that? But we'll for the holidays, I call them Hallmark holidays because I don't celebrate them. But why is it such a big deal to do something for a woman that you like? Like, why is that such a big deal? You know what I'm saying? I posted something about, you know, letting a woman eat off your plate. And I know some people were joking, but I know some people were for real. Like, no, why can't she get her own food? And I'm like, why can't I just bite off your plate? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like,
you sat here and bought an entire new plate of food because you won't give her one fry. You know how much money y'all just wasted because she can't have a couple fries.
Right. I mean, it's like, and what a lot of guys don't realize is that's a love language, like that sharing and that connection. That's somebody's love language. And actually, I think it's great, the ones who don't like it, because say it up front. So that's one of the things I want to, you know, my first do in this whole dating abroad, because it is different. And I'll share a story that's similar to yours, Sonja, but ask every question you can think of, because nothing is off the table. So, and part of asking everything. So if you like somebody, I'm not talking about like, you know, somebody walks up and goes, "Oh, you beautiful," and you start going off and asking all the questions. I'm talking about somebody that you're like, wow, okay, we've gone on a couple dates. You know, I could see this. I'm going to be here long term. This person is here long term. You kind of see what you're, you know, it's not somebody who's just coming in for the weekend and you're here long term, because that's probably a booty call. I mean, let's keep it real.
Yeah.
You know, they're coming in, so they want to, you know, get it in. We adults, people do that, right? But part of it is to get clarity for yourself, what it is that you want, and allow that person to share with you what it is that they want. So like that's, I would say, like one of my first dues. Well, it's not really a first one, but it's one of the dues. In this whole process, because for women, dating it's almost scary abroad, because like you said, the way that they approach you, it seems so aggressive, but everything outside of the US is the exact opposite to
Mhm.
a certain extent. And if we think about Europeans and other people, but specifically like Europeans, one of the things they don't have, they're not tied up with the nudity trauma that we have. Like they walk around naked all the time,
Mhm.
period. So it's nothing for them to be in a space of,
Yeah.
nudity, and it's not a big deal. Like it's just a body. And so I say that to start talking about how women feel about their bodies, and specifically Black women, because we are different. We have been scrutinized for our natural
Mhm.
beauty. But then we watch other race women do
Mhm.
the same things, unnaturally, and
Mhm.
be paraded around for it, right? And so while we have these wonderful cliche sayings, don't let anything kick you off your square, and wear your crown, and don't compare yourself to anyone. I'm not, someone else is.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
they clearly just told me that my full lips, my hips, my, curvature, my color, is kind of standoffish, but the person that you're with looks just like me, but it's fake. You know what I'm saying? And so dealing with that whole, internal, because it's real. If we keep acting like these things don't affect us, like you're saying, acting like we don't need love, we don't want companionship and stuff like that, we will end up.
Oops, it looks like you're frozen, or at least on my end. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Maybe I should come out and come back. Let's see. Okay, Ali got kicked out. So let's see if she can come back in. Okay, so she'll be coming back in a bit. Okay, so I guess I'll just yeah. Ali was frozen, but she got kicked out. She'll be back in, but yeah, I mean, since I've been in Playa del Carmen, I've only been here 5 weeks, so I've been in a state of observation and observing and hearing just some of the stories, from my friends. But yeah, I just encourage, like, okay, when we talked about the whole, okay, a Black woman living abroad and then she's thinking about love, we have to be realistic, because if you're like, say you're moving to Europe, or you're moving to Mexico here, but you're only going to want um, an American man, or you're only going to want a Black American man. There has to be some realism there, and not saying that you will not find that, not saying that as an expat you won't come here to Mexico and meet another American expat, another Black American expat, but you have to be realistic. If you're truly in a search for love and you're wanting your chances there, it's like, if you've opened yourself up to moving abroad is like, why not open yourself up to actually just, opening up, your options, and just keeping, everything, on the table. So I'm a big proponent of that, just, being realistic, because sometimes when you're not realistic, it can really make things harder on you. It can really make things very frustrating because you're looking for something very specific, but then amongst your Black expat group, what if there are five Black American guys that you are interested in? Your other, 100 sisters that you know here might also be interested in him. So, yeah, I would just, say just opening up or just being open to things is very important, just being realistic. So, welcome back.
So sorry. I'm so sorry. My whole computer just shut off. And it's plugged in. So I don't even know what that was about. So I apologize, you guys. I'm back. I'm on my phone now, which actually looks better. Anyway.
We were talking about being realistic. Like, how you were talking about if you are moving to another country, but your love options aren't open. I was just talking about how you can really be making things very difficult on yourself, because then you're like, I know I moved to Australia. I want a Black American man, damn it. It's like, I'm going to find me, or just probably even just an American man, it's like, and not saying that, it's 100% that won't happen for you, but you can definitely be adding to your frustrations, because even if you find those 5 American or Black American men that you're interested in because you met them through some type of expat group, you still have, other women that might be interested in those 5 men as well. Or you're interested in him, but you've talked to those 5 guys, and it's like, okay, there's deal breakers with all 5 of them, So right. I guess you either decide that you're just not going to date while you're abroad, or you're gonna have to do something to make things realistic on yourself, because I think that adds to a lot of frustration. And then I think also we'll get the egging on from our female friends, like, girl, make sure you wait for exactly what you want. What you want. And pray for exactly what you want. And talk to this dating coach, because if you do this, it's like, don't give up on exactly what you want. But yeah, that can definitely put you in a certain situation.
So, and that goes hand in hand with traveling long term, because when you start to travel, you start to figure out what exactly you want, what you need. And I'm going to, take dating and compare it to access to stuff. So typically when you move abroad, or you're traveling, you're not going to have everything that you're used to having in your kitchen. That's just like the easiest example. Or for Black women, you're not going to have all the hair products. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have everything. So then you kind of got to figure out, what is it that I have to have? What is it that I need, but want as well? And what can I finesse here? But that doesn't mean to settle. But what it means is to kind of look within yourself and start to figure out or determine what's a priority. And if you can't, like you're saying, if you can't look and say, okay, well, the pool of men isn't small, but the pool of Black men who travel like this, this nomadic lifestyle, who get up and go, there's pockets and handfuls, and you'll find them in the expat groups and stuff like that. But you don't really experience everything that's possible if you limit it to that, right? and the probability of you finding every single Black, because I think we outnumber. I think Black women outnumber in the traveling realm. When you go to these events, there's always 10 to 1, you know, Black men to women. So they're getting to the pick of the litter, you know, well, not litter, that's not a good word.
But you know, for lack of a better term, and honestly, this is what I think. A lot of times as Black American women, we'll go off to Mexico, for example, or Australia or whatever, as a nomad, and we're looking for a Black American man. Yep. I think if a Black American man has chosen this lifestyle, I think a lot of times he's more realistic. He's like, I didn't come all the way to Mexico for y'all.
To look for no Black woman. Yo.
Why would I have come to Mexico? Because I specifically wanted Black American women. I would have stayed, you know,
in America.
I would have been in Detroit. You know, it's like, that's the thing. I think they are more realistic, because one thing I noticed with, if we're on a group, it's just kind of like you'll have 14, 15 Black women. We get together and it'd be a group of us. Deep. And then every once in a while, we'll see one Black American man. If the women will kind of wave at the brother, a lot of times he's just kind of like, I'm hoping maybe they'll stop waving at me. Like, maybe, you know, just like, I'm not here for y'all. Like, what makes y'all think I came all the way to Mexico? You know,
exactly.
A lot of times I've saw that situation more than once here, to where the, you know, brothers are kind of like, just because I'm Black and y'all are Black, that don't mean that I want to come and engage in a conversation with y'all. And I'm not saying that that's what always happens, because last night I met a guy not only from Dallas, but lived in the same neighborhood that I lived at in Dallas, you know? So yeah, you will. That was so funny. And my sister was still here visiting, and he was like, hey, and my sister's like, how y'all doing? He's like, y'all are from Dallas. Or no, he said, y'all are from Texas. Which is funny, because y'all is used everywhere now.
Everywhere.
He happened to be right, you know. So he was, you know, not only from, you know, the same area, but, you know, the same, you know, neighborhood that I'd moved from. So yeah, you will, you know, find some brothers who are going to stop and talk to you. But there, you know, will be times to where yeah, they're just like, just because y'all all waving, that don't mean I'm gonna stop and come talk to y'all.
I literally, that's a million. And so this is for ladies, so you guys can set your expectations, right? That is the truest thing. And I'm glad that you actually said it, Sonja, because in Thailand, you know, it's a few of us out there. I've been, over the last 20 months, I started in Mexico. So I was in Mexico for 4 months. And I hit about 8 or 9 different cities in Mexico. And then I went to, East Africa. So I started in Tanzania. And then I went to Egypt for like 3 weeks. And then I went to Kenya for almost 6 months, and lived in those 2 places on the East Coast. And then I went to Thailand. And yeah, we had big expat groups. We had very big expat groups. And in Africa, I would say on the East Coast, I would say that the expat groups, more people were kind of intermingling, but a lot of the women were looking at local men and stuff like that. So it kind of depends on what you're wanting. But there weren't a whole lot of guys in the group. And the guys that were in the group, and so this is the other part I want to touch on, is a lot of times some of these places are great for couples. Like if you're already coupled, like I found Tanzania was not for me, because it wasn't a good dating place for me at all. Like it was horrible in terms of dating. Number one, there just weren't enough people on the mental level that and not like they're not mental, but I mean, like they're not looking to do what I'm doing. So it's almost like being in the States, you know, so you're, some just beat, make sure it's not my phone. You know, so there were a bunch of people there, but none of them looking to travel, especially not like this. So why would I even engage? Why would, you know, this is a big part of my life. So It's, you know, I can't ignore this aspect, and I'm not gonna. And then the other part is when we get into the cultural stuff, these ask the questions. You know, polygamy is big. You know, so there's 3-4 wives in there, and you know, I'm not really interested. I mean, it depends on how much money you got and how much freedom I'm gonna have, but they don't really do it like that. It's like not like I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna be. They, you know, one of the things that I learned and I got asked over and over again is about having more children, because I only have one son, and in their mind, they don't care how old I am. And this was one of the turnoffs. I'm gonna go ahead and put this out here, y'all. Was one of my turnoffs. Was I felt like they only wanted me because they thought I could make a light-skinned baby. And actually, I don't think that. I was actually told that on a handful of occasions. And they would tell me, they would be like, because the baby's gonna be like your color. And I even would ask, you know, why black is beautiful. And they're like, no, your color is better. And so that was kind of a turnoff for me. I think I'm beautiful, but it was like, you know, that colorism was coming out. And so that was kind of difficult, because I'm just like, I'm leaving a place where this is a big issue. I really don't want to go somewhere where I'm, you know, so that's the fetishizing as well. But those are with African men, and not everybody's the same, y'all. So I don't want anybody jumping on when I love black queens, I love my African queens. I know we do, but I encountered quite a few. The people who were open and willing to just come up and approach and, you know, do whatever. That's literally what they said. And I just was just like, but you do know that you're the most beautiful color that we have on the face of this earth, right? We try to get like you. And I had to put it in their perspective.
Imagine, you know, women, if a man approached you and he's a colorist, and you decide that, well, if he likes who I am, like, why would I be offended? And then you have children with this person and they hate your children. It's like, you don't, you know, it's like, I never understand that, you know. When, you know, guys have approached me and trying to pick apart and want to know like the inner workings of your DNA, like what country are you from? You know, it's just kind of like, you're from the US, you know, mom and dad, Black American, and them feeling like, well, I thought you, and they'd be so specific, like, I thought you were Cape Verdean, or I thought you were, you know, Eritrean. I'm like, where are you getting these very specific, you know?
Because like, they're looking at your features. Because so we're the only United States, and this is a whole nother talk show. United States we are so silo. We are the only place in the world, primarily. There's others, but the largest kind of mass of people that base everything. Our race is Black. You know, our color is our race. You know, where everyone else bases it on their ethnicity, like they base it on where they're from. So when we say we're Black in Africa, I got in many arguments about being called white. And I had to explain why that is not cool, to get people to understand our culture, as well as me understanding theirs. And so the whole, you know, the color, whether or not you're going to have kids. Because what I explained is I said, well, my son is much darker than I am. So just because I'm light complexion doesn't mean that I'm going to give you light children. And one of the things that they can do is they'll look at your hair. Now I have protective styling. They can't tell that I have a protective style, I guess. And so they're looking at the texture of my hair, like when I wear it like this, and they'll assume like there's certain places where in Africa we are the gamut of everything with our hair textures, our coloring, all of that kind of stuff. And they literally start, because they would do that to me. They'd say, where are you from? And I'd say Africa. And they're like, where? Are you South African? Are you from, you know, they would pick some of these places. No one ever said Ethiopia, but they would say South Africa. Somebody asked me if I was from New Zealand.
Interesting.
And I was like, I don't even know how that even, you know, so it makes you like compare things or think about things, because the way that they look at race and like your tribe, so to speak. It's really defined and very specific and detailed. It's not just the color of your skin. So that's our colorism in the United States. We're color driven by what color complexion you are, where they look at where you're from and they want to know where you're from, because they also, that tribe thing and the collaborations and the connections and whether or not they fighting each other, you know, all, I mean, that stuff happens. It's a real thing over there where they may not like a specific tribe and stuff like that, you know. But for the purposes of dating, I felt like they just, if you're pretty and you're a certain complexion, one guy, he just got married a year ago, and you know, so they can do the polygamy thing, at least. Well, it became legal again in Kenya. But anyway, he has kids, and he was just like, but we would make beautiful babies. And I'm just like, I'm so past being turned on by somebody telling me I'd make a beautiful baby. I'm 50 years old. Like, that is not a turn on.
But then also it makes you feel like, how did you as a man feel about your kids who were darker complected? And I just saw that too much, to where people have, you know, a preference for their own kids. You know, it's just kind of like, oh, these are better. I just could not be a part of that. You know, one guy told me, and this was a Black American guy, he dates Black women, but they have to kind of be this exotic to where they look like they're not Black. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, like, you don't have to worry about me. You don't have to worry about me. You know?
What's that real? You ain't got to worry about me. You ain't got to worry
so
about
I was just like, okay, well then, like, nice meeting you. He's like, no, why are you offended? Because I mean, you too, like, you look exotic. He didn't realize that I wasn't offended because I thought, like, am I not good enough to be exotic? I was offended because don't bring that crap to me. Don't bring that type of talk to me. It's like, you would only date a Black woman who kind of seems like she's not Black. And what that causes is they're constantly looking like, okay, but I thought you didn't act like the other Black women, though. I thought you wrap up your hair like you do what the other Black women do. I thought you did. I thought you were different. Who wants to deal with that, to where you're a Black man, but my Blackness is not, you know, I'm not good enough for you unless I can kind of show you that I'm, quote, different from other Black women. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like the whole, you know, a man wants to come home to peace and not have to, you know, put on fronts and airs when he comes home. Neither does a woman.
Yeah.
When do we get to request the same peace that our male counterparts are demanding? If I got to come home, if I got to be phony when you come home because you don't want to see me without, you know, all glammed up, you don't want to see, like, when I decide to take my protectives, oh, that's not your hair, and that's why up front, one of my things on my list of ask is what does he get clarity when a man says he wants a woman who looks natural and he's looking at you? And when I have my protective styling, the first thing I say is, tell me what natural means. Does hair matter? Because I have a lot of hair, but my hair don't look like this when I take it out. It's a, you know, and if you got a problem with gravity and hair, you're not gonna be, you know, and you got a problem with shrinkage, you know, that's a real thing. I want to know that up front, because I don't always wear my hair in a protective style. So those things are important to me. I've had people talk about, you know, body and, you know, how your body looks. And I've had some things that I felt were negative from, you know, other Black men wanting me to beautify or perfect my body, but it's my body. It's from pregnancy, certain things from pregnancy and things like that. Whereas when you go outside of just this Blackness, these other people don't care at all. Like,
the hair thing is so big. That was such a big thing for me with dating, because like you said, what's natural to them? Well, I think what they meant by natural hair, because my hair just throughout life is mostly going to be long since I was a little girl. It's just, I've styled it differently, but it's, pretty much always long. So what they meant by natural was when I was straightening my hair and it was down my back, but it was straightened. And one guy was just like, is that how your hair naturally is? And he was meaning straight. And I'm like, oh no, it's naturally curly. He's like, oh, he's just like, I'm kind of disappointed because I thought your hair was naturally straight. Am I saying that it cannot happen that a Black woman's hair is not naturally straight? That's going to be a rarity, that her hair is naturally straight, He's like, come on, dude, you know how this works. You know how this works, So that's what I think, a lot of them were really big on wanting my hair to always be in a straightened state. So it's like now it's locked now. So
now what?
Yeah, it's like now what? It's like you can't, one guy told me the curly hair when it was loose natural, he said the curly hair, he's like, that's nice, but that's nice for in the house. Like when you go out, you should have it straightened. That type of stuff just, but then there's also a disconnect with, it's like, I want you to have it straightened, but why can't we go out with the top down on a summer day?
They're not ready for what's going to happen when that water hit it.
Why can't we go to the pool and I splash you, It's like, not with my hair straightened, it's
man, and it's so crazy, and we're constantly told, forget what they're saying. But how often do we get that? And I even had someone say, hey, if we go out, if I pay for you to go to the hairdresser and get your hair done.
That happened. Yep, that same guy. He said he would send the hairdresser the money for my hair to be straightened.
And this is the thing, like, we're supposed to never say anything. We're supposed to eat that all up and still feel confident and walk with our heads strong and keep going and still seeking love. And never don't bring into one thing the next thing, what from the past or whatever. But we also keep ourselves in this box of only looking at one type of guy. And that, to me, that's a big don't. If you're going to travel abroad, you have to consider, unless you're going to bring your man with you.
Yeah, put him in the carry-on. Put him in the carry-on. No, put him in a check bag. You want that weight limit. Put him in a check bag.
Yeah. And I mean, if you find somebody who is like this, who travels like this, and they're everything, and they meet that colorism criteria, because that's really what it is. When you start traveling abroad, you start to that veil. How we say, because I'm a big person about see my color. Like, I want you to know that I am Black, because I have experiences because I am Black. So I need you to see that. But when it comes to dating, what I had to realize is that, number one, if you are going to go outside of the Black American, because even Black UK, Black Caribbean, that's all different too. Like, their experiences are different than ours, and they're not. So when something happens, our natural thing is, oh God, was he Black? Oh boy, they did that because we're Black. That is the last thing that they think of. Like, they even enslave people in different countries, their ancestors were enslaved. They still don't always, maybe in the UK they do because it was rough over there, but a lot of people don't automatically go to this racial thing, whereas that's embedded in us.
Yeah, that was a lot of arguments. One thing I wanted to talk about was, okay, if you're dating abroad as a Black woman, the difference is in the US, there is an aesthetic. If you're successful in that Black dating pool, there is an aesthetic. It almost feels like, when you see the reality shows, it's just kind of like, the weave, the beat face, the Fashion Nova clothes or whatever. It's like always having to be dressed or whatever, and the high end and luxury purses and all that stuff. It's like if you're not like willing to be, it depends on the city, but I know in Dallas it's like you better be into that whole aesthetic that works for you being successful in the Black dating pool.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
when you get here, it's just kind of like it's okay that you didn't have your shoes on today. You've been walking around like yesterday, and I was with my sister and Sandra. She was on the panel that we all did, and we're just, all eating, and we're sitting here eating with having lunch at this restaurant. We have no shoes on, We're just like, that would be unheard of. Of course, it was like a restaurant right by the beach, but that was just like so freeing, that you have your table, you have your waiter coming to you, but your toes are in the sand,
Right.
Just
Right.
like, but just here being that you can go out and you'll not have to put on your makeup. You can go out and you'll just throw your hair up in a ponytail and have a tank top and some shorts or whatever, and it's okay. One thing that my sister was concerned about was this shirt is wrinkled. Like I can't go out. Well, for one thing, in humidity, those wrinkles aren't going to last for long. But
First, right.
no one cares. It's just like, go out there and be free. It's like, if your dress is wrinkled, just tell people that that's the way a material is supposed to look. And, but no one's going to look at that. I would feel like in the US, it's just kind of like, she really came out to dinner. It's like, there's wrinkles in her dress or whatever.
Right.
There's more freedom to wear whatever look works for you. So you're able to, have your own style and this freestyle, and everyone accepts everyone's individual style, however they want their hair, whatever color you want your hair. Every woman that was with us, sometimes we're in huge groups. It might be like 13 of us, and every woman has natural hair. And, and not saying that, I feel like this, wear your hair however you want to wear it. But I also think it's so freeing to see so many women not only happy with their natural hair, but to see when you're walking down the streets and these people are like the bouncers to try and get people into a club, we're going to be the ones that they're trying to get in. We attract, the people, and we're the party. And like I said, in Miami, we probably wouldn't even get in because it's like, who's going to want to come party and there's a bunch of Black women in there or something, they might feel like that,
Right.
So it's definitely different. You can have whatever aesthetic you want, and I can feel free going out and just, looking like this and not having to look like, a reality show.
Right. Yep, that's exactly right. I'm telling you, when I came back from Mexico, so I came back to the States before I went to Africa, and it was to change what I had in my bag. I wanted to keep it simple, but I knew that I was going to a more Muslim area, and so didn't really know what that meant, because I started in Zanzibar, so Zanzibar was like this, but when you're in Dar es Salaam, you can't really walk around with your, you can, but sometimes people look at you, wearing short shorts like I would have on, not short shorts, but shorts above my knees and stuff, like that was kind of like, so I never did it. Always wore like genie pants and stuff like that, but it gets hot as double hockey sticks, and so I was like, it just from that perspective, I didn't like being told what to wear. And so to your point about just being free and people not looking at you like, oh, you don't have on designer. Like when I was in Thailand, the people that I met, you got to see a little bit of my boat life. You let me just tell you how many shoes we lost to the ocean.
Oh,
I came home with one pair of shoes. It was my New Balance. Everything else, I had my water shoes were good, but every pair of sandals, like we lost one would get lost, and that person. And then the people that we were hanging around, they didn't wear shoes. Like they didn't wear shoes because their life was different. Now, what I will say is they didn't have a lot of like I just got home after 2 years and I'm going through my stuff and everything, and the stacks and stacks and stacks of bags of clothes that are in the largest vacuum bags. And I've been gone for 2 years and I've either been buying stuff, buying what I need. I've left 3 or 4 bags in different places everywhere I go, realizing you don't really need all this stuff. Now, yeah, I'm not glammed up, but if I need a dress to go somewhere, like in Tanzania, I did an event with the prime minister was at this event we had, and it was an investors group thing. I went and I bought a dress and I bought some shoes.
Okay.
And that stuff is now in Kenya because I love it there. But I said, all of these things that we have, it is a lot of stuff, and we don't have to walk around and be like all glammed up all the time. And I mean, it's too hot in most of these places to wear makeup to begin with. Like, ain't nobody trying to put all that on. But the other thing is, you don't have to feel like you're putting on airs for anyone. One of the things that I noticed about the people who have money that are in these places living, they have expensive things in terms of quality. So they have but you'll never know the brand because it's not smothered all over. We got to have Gucci. They might have really nice things, but you won't know. They're not like brand loyal, like exposing brand loyal. But their stuff lasts a long time.
Yeah, the way they'll explain stuff is like, this was handmade. This is this type of leather, not that this is this brand or whatever. So they'll have more appreciation for someone took the time to make this by hand, or these are quality materials or whatever. But also another thing is, if you're coming from the US, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna be dating, so you're wanting to look the most glamorous, and your designer or whatever. You're not gonna want to do that here. You're not gonna want to put a target on yourself. You're not gonna want to attract the men who are thinking you're gonna be a sugar mama, because you're showing them like making them feel like you have a whole bunch of money. Because for one thing, one thing we talked about with some ladies here was people didn't realize that people from the US didn't just own their homes. They're thinking all these people have nice homes and cars. And if you have a home that's $500,000, you have a car that's $100,000, people are thinking you paid that with the liquid assets out of your bank account. That you own that outright. And so one of the girls here was talking to one of her taxi drivers. He's like, wait a minute, like they're paying on this for years and years and years. Like people don't own their homes and their cars. No. Nope. And she was because like, we're the things that we own, the clothes on your back. Yep. If that, they got the payment plans on that. You can get Fashion Nova on payment plan now. So you might not even own that. You might not even own your pennies,
How funny. And that's so real, because that's the other thing. We're about the only ones. The American dream is such a farce, y'all. This whole American dream about being in debt. When you go to all these other places, a lot of places don't think about bank accounts. And when you go to Mexico, you get like a 3-year. You put enough money down and you pay off whatever you're buying in 3 years if you're not paying it off all at once. They don't have 10, 15, 30-year mortgage type things. They just don't do that. They save their money and then they buy whatever they're going to buy. And that's why a lot of times they do it collaboratively with more than one family. Or it'll be like extended family, parents, kids kind of thing. When you go to Europe and stuff, it's the same thing. Like nobody buys stuff that we can't afford. Like we really, in the grand scheme of thing, if we basically kind of went with, you know, you buy it or you retain it if you've paid for it. Many of us wouldn't have anything. Like I wouldn't be in this house because I wouldn't have paid for it up front. You know, I would be renting, you know. And so I think that's one of the things, like we put ourselves on this higher level because we have all these beautiful places and cars and all this kind of stuff. Yet many of us never own outright. This is my second home and I didn't own either of them outright. I still was paying to the bank. You know what I'm saying? 20 years later, yeah, it was almost paid off, but it wasn't. You know, the difference is yeah, you might have something and you can sell it and then you'll get that plus the value of it. But in essence, you know, those are some of the cultural things as well. And so like when you talk about being a sugar mama as a single woman traveling around the world, there are certain places where we are naturally targeted because first of all, they're like, how did you get here? If you got here, so like I could be like, I'm so basic, I'm so budget friendly and fiscally responsible and all of that. I don't have money like that, but to them, you're here. So you have to have money, you know, and so,
it wasn't cheap. And just just being able to live outside of your country for months at a time.
Yeah, and so we have to be aware of that. So that's a good don't. Flaunting, like this whole, we got to floss. We floss in the US. Unless you're going on a short-term vacation in these places, because everybody does. I mean, lots of people floss when they go on vacation. But when you're doing long travel and you're going to be kind of moving around, you can have good, you know, nice things. It's, you know, you just you have to kind of pay attention to the company that you keep, the areas that you're in. You know, you just need to set yourself up in a way that you're not putting yourself in harm's way, because attention attracts attention. And it could be a place that never has anything happen. And I will tell you, Thailand probably was the safest place that I've been, you know, ever, really, because you know, a lot of places will tell you, be aware of theft, be aware of this, be aware of that. And I think they probably say it in Bangkok, but in Phuket, it was just like, you know, you walk around with your phone. You know, people would leave money on the table. Nobody would touch it. We would walk away, leave all of our stuff and come back and it, you know, it would be there. And that's probably not a smart thing, but it was just, you just have to be mindful of where you are. But as single women, I think that the whole thing with understanding that when you're going somewhere, people are going to view you based on their perception or the persona that media has painted of you. So that was kind of a good one, is you know, don't overdo it when you're dating in terms of trying to impress someone with your style, unless that's the kind of arena that
you're gonna buy that man, you know, and I've you know heard of that a lot, to where, you know, for Black American women, it's almost like and I'm sure it's for just any American woman, but I think specifically for, you know, Black American women, sometimes they view us as taking this role reversal, you know. So it's like, if you know, if you're a man and you know, live in Ghana, and you would have had to pay a dowry, and you would have had to prove to your woman's, your father and mother and her brothers that you can financially support her, and you'd probably have to make sure you gave all of them some money. You know, how much more enticing is it going to be that you met this Black American woman that not only do I not have to do that, she might be taking care of me, you know? It's like, so there is, I think, a perception, you know, that, okay, people might target you.
Yeah, and it's real. It's real, because I had a couple guys approach me and tell me that they liked me because, and this is riding in tuk-tuks, right? You know, I've had the marriage proposal. The guy even told me he doesn't cheat. He's, you know, I work hard, I don't cheat, and, you know, we can have one more baby, so you can have two. Or actually, he told me two more, so that, you know, and that's the other thing, like, you got to know culturally what makes them successful. And a lot of men in some of these cultures, their only purpose of getting married is for the family, is to have children, to procreate. And so you need to understand where you fit in. Like, you know, like, so if I'm not planning on having any more children, why would I marry into any culture where the sole purpose or idea of the woman is to bear children or, you know, take care of a family, you know, that kind of, and that's real, you know what I'm saying? And so that literally cuts out like huge chunks of different places, you know, around the world that don't, that's just not gonna to fit or work for me.
Yeah,
Like,
it's funny. Some of my online dating just during the pandemic, because back since 2020, I knew that I wanted to leave the US. And at one point, somewhere on the continent of Africa was my destination. And, you know, everybody looks at Ghana, you know, it's just kind of like, you know, where do I go? Let's go to Ghana. So I was talking to some guys from Ghana, you know, just, you know, online and doing the Zoom calls and, you know, WhatsApp video chatting with them and just having extensive conversations. But you do feel like immediately, you know, the person is looking at your uterus, like, you know, immediately, you know, immediately. So that can be something.
right.
Feel, you know, and I guess that's, you know, a cultural thing that can feel very weird for us. But yeah, one guy, I don't even think we knew each other's last names. We didn't know much about each other at all. And he was already talking about, you know, us having kids, not just, you know, do you want kids? It's just kind of like him already planning for us to have kids, him already having, of course, we hadn't met in person, but him already getting a blessing from his, you know, father who was in his 80s, and he was just, and I think some of it feels like they're trying to guilt you into a relationship, which that may not be it, but the idea of my, you know, father is about to die and he gave us our blessing. It's like, I don't know if that's true or not, but it's like, I didn't tell you to go ask your dad about somebody that you haven't even met in person. It's like,
and that's one of the things that we have to do or don't, however you want to look at it, is first of all, know the intent that we're dating. So why are we dating as women? Because we can't control anybody else. So this is part of that discovery. You know, I went on this whole long thing of figuring out where I was, why I was making decisions, and also about dating, why I was ending up with certain okay, I froze for a second. And you know, and so part of it is being really intentful and understanding what it is that you want, or at least knowing the direction that you want to go in. Because I will be you know, the first or second, third, whatever person to say that it's freezing a lot now. So let me know if you guys, whoever's on, if you guys are getting good or bad reception, because I'm not sure why it's freezing so much.
A couple of times, but yeah, it looks better now.
Okay. But our intent is, and as soon as I started talking, it froze, right? What our intent is when we're dating, because if we're just going for short term and, you know, you just trying to get it in with a local because you done heard something about, you know, these, you know, Asian men, Ghanaian men, how do you say it? Ghanaian, is it Ghanaian?
Ghanaian or Ghanaian?
Ghanaian, okay, men, or Nigerian men, or Senegalese men, you know, all this stuff, right? Like we done heard all this stuff about, you know, so some people just trying to get over there, and, you know, women as well might want to just get a little flavor for a sex, I call it a sex ship. There's the base ship, there's the relationship, there's the sugar or the daddy ship, you know, whatever it is, you know, sugar daddy or the sugar mama ship, you know, that kind of thing. So you kind of got to know what it is that you're planning to do. And a lot of times if we're wanting to do something long term, like I know some people who have moved abroad and they got married and they started families, but that's what they wanted. They were just looking for the right person to do that with. But in my case, I'm already older. I already have grandchildren. So I really have to start thinking about my dating prospects are completely different. Now, I get approached by very young men, and I just will, chalk that up to, I'll take a little pat on the back or something about maybe looking young. So I appreciate that. It's great, but that's still not gonna make me go and have a baby, because I know what that means, but it makes me, I really have to think about how big or how small my circle is if I'm only looking at Black men from the US. And again, so then my thing is okay, well, I have to broaden that. I have to be open to who finds me in my true essence, unglammed, all of this. Sometimes I'm wearing my natural hair, sometimes I'm not, sometimes I got a little, I don't, whatever that really looks, it can roll with my personality and the way that I move. So one of the things that I noticed when I was, when I travel is I often hear, when are you coming back home? When are you coming back? When are you, how long? I had somebody ask me, well, when are you going to be over this?
Ooh, like it was a cold or something, or the flu.
Oh.
Okay, so now
God, I hate this, is that it's literally freezing a lot on my side. So I apologize to you guys. Hopefully it comes over decent. But yeah, that's one of the things is this whole idea that this is just fun time or a game. No, I've been, if people actually listen to me, I've been nomading for the last 20 years. Even when I lived in Chicago, I literally lived in 3 different places. I had my house, but I was always like in between houses. And so I find such peace. And I've always wanted to move out of the United States. I always thought it would at least be half of the year I would live outside of the United States. That's always been something I've always wanted to do. So the other thing that I will say as a do is get to know people. And what I mean by get to know people, when I said ask questions, is intentful questions, is get to know why people behave the way that they do. And that's one of the things I feel like made this trip to Thailand so amazing, is that I got a chance to experience people who don't know me, have never seen me. And that's the other thing too, is when we leave the US as Black women, or just Black people in general, when you start going to the east side of Africa, they've never seen, a lot of people have never seen a Black person before except on television. And that was so weird for me to hear people say. They were like, you're the first Black person I've ever met in person. And I was like, wow, like I'm honored, like, okay, I got to act right or whatever, because I'm representing.
Really, imagine the no pressure there, right? One thing I would say is a do that we should do. Like, imagine if you're dating a guy in the US, you're not going to connect or think you can establish something with a guy who never wants to travel. He's like, I don't like planes. I don't have a passport. So the same thing when you're dating a guy from a different country. Like, for instance, when I met these, the Ghanaian guys that, I was, chatting with, video chatting with, I met them through travel sites on Facebook. So I didn't expect that these were guys who had never left Ghana. I thought that these were also going to be guys who had at least traveled to other countries in Africa. They had not traveled outside of Ghana. And I think, for them, it was going to be a must that that woman goes to Ghana. And that, she
at home.
Helps him get to, the US, which, and if I'm trying to get out of the US and I kind of want a man that travels with me, but you really don't want to leave Ghana, you think that I'm just going to go to Ghana and that's going to be my first stop and my last stop and that's where I'm going to be, or that I'm going to go to Ghana and then take you back to the US, that is not part of my plan, So, that's something that if you meet, someone who they're from another country on your journey here, but they're also well traveled. You know, if it's someone that you meet as a local here, but they never want to leave here, or they don't really like traveling, but they're like, but it's cool, we met because you're here. It's like, yeah, but I'm not just gonna stay still here and never go anywhere else. That's not part of my plan. So the same way
Yeah.
we would do
Yeah.
with American guys, where we wouldn't date one, who, doesn't have, unless he's willing, he might not have a passport. He might not have done a lot of traveling, but he may say, I'm trying to be about that life. Then that's going to work. But I've met guys who are like, I've never been on a plane, and it seemed like they're proud of it. And it's like, you ain't going to get me on a plane. So, okay, so how is that going to work?
Because it's never, I find that more times than not, it's not about our happiness. It's about, I saw you, you're beautiful. I think you're beautiful. I want you to have children by me and be happy for the rest of your life. And I'm like, boo, I could stay in the US for that. Like, why would I go somewhere where I have nothing? I have no support system, no nothing, and do something that is totally against what I'm, want to do. But that's like, so when you were talking about aggressiveness, it's a cultural thing. It's not even them going, I'm this and I'm, all of that. It's a cultural thing. You find a woman or however many wives you can support, if polygamy is allowed in wherever you are, you find however many women, like I said, and how you can care for and take care of. And the expectation is, and I've heard on Clubhouse, I've been in some rooms where women literally were talking about, American women going to Africa and marrying men and basically can't leave because they didn't know. And I'm like, how do you not have these conversations? How do you not look at the culture and see
so guys, like, I'm not going to let you go, pretty much. It kind of froze for a second, but you're back.
What'd you say? Say it again, Sonja. Say it again.
So when they get to that country, they can't leave because the guy is like physically not letting them leave. Is that it?
Well, no, not necessarily. I don't know, because that's weird to me, because I'm like, well, why don't you have a passport? Oh, one conversation was that the guy she married took her passport, so she didn't have access to it. And I guess that's just a cultural thing. It's just like, I control this, this is how it is. You ask me first, I tell you what you can and cannot do. And I'm just like, but how do you get into a situation like that and not know it? Like, you see that in dating, like you see that control factor early on in dating. So I always say to women, we got to go beyond our rose-colored glasses. Like, we sometimes want so bad for it to look a certain way that we literally walk from one bad thing into an even worse thing. And when you don't have freedom of mobility, like you don't have access, you can't. And I'm gonna just tell you, everybody ain't like that. But I'm just referring to a couple of stories, and I'm just referring to us having these rose-colored glasses on, that everything is so much better somewhere else, or that we have this vision of what this knight in shining armor is going to look like. And all I'm saying is when you go and you start to travel abroad, you need to be even more cognizant of what's happening around you. You need to be more cognizant of what your intentions are and what you want, and be steadfast with that. And then you also need to be open-minded, because it might not be the coloring that you expect. The person that you have the most in common with may not look like you at all. And that's what I'm uncovering, is that without even having a conversation, because one of the things I started saying is, or we hear all the time is do what you love, do what is natural for you, do what you do on a regular basis, what makes you happy, and you'll start to meet people who have the same interests. And that's love interests as well as platonic friendships and building these relationships. You're in these spaces and, oh wow, you like rock climbing too. Oh wow, you like hiking. Oh wow, you're an animal whisperer. Oh wow, you like to sit by the beach and draw or write or whatever. Oh wow, you like boats. Oh wow, you like to just aimlessly travel, because this is what they're already doing. And 9 times out of 10, they're not necessarily going to look like what you originally envisioned. And when you can walk into a space and you're not trying to convince someone to like the life, it makes all the difference in the world when you're not trying to convince someone to support you in what you like, agree with. I mean, that's just like being a kid again. Why would I date somebody to try to convince you that this is really the life that I want to live? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I see Erica said something that she hit the nail on the head. She said once you'll have the children, you can leave, but maybe they're not gonna let you take the kids. Because I talked to a guy, and this was so funny. This was a friend of mine who tried to set me up with a guy from Nigeria. And it's funny, our first conversation, this was again before this guy even knew my last name. He was already, he had already put dibs on my uterus and, we was already in his mind planning a kid, and he didn't know my last name. But that's one thing that he told me. He said, if we were to have kids and something would happen, I would take the kids, because he's like, in my country, I don't know if it's just in the country or certain, areas of Nigeria, but the kids belong to the man. And so he was just like, he's like, there's been women who they know that they're, going to go through a divorce, or that it's not working out with their husband, and that they'll flee with their kids because they know that otherwise the man is going to take the kids. And not only, is the man going to take the kids, a lot of times, he also said, not only will the man take the kids, a lot of times, sometimes the man won't even raise the kids. So it's just like, I took the kids from my ex-wife only to give the kids to my mom. And so I'm not going to even necessarily. It's a control thing.
It's a control thing. There's a lot of control. And those are the things, and it's not just Ghana where that happens. I understand that I think Kenya has kind of that patriarchal thing as well, where the man kind of decides, and
plug in my also computer here right quick so I don't lose power, but you can go ahead.
And then also that what my caretaker in Kenya, he was explaining that I was asking him something about his lineage, like who does he, kind of fall. I can't remember the conversation we were having. Actually, it was on my YouTube channel. It was one of the dinners that I did, and he was saying that basically he only has his father's DNA. So it didn't even occur to him as he's saying it, you have to have your mother's DNA as well, because she carried you, right? Like, and he was just like, no, I don't. I'm, am all my father or whatever. And it's the way that they're taught. And it's something like that. So y'all, if I mess it up, my Kenyan friends and family, if I mess it up, just please gently correct me. But I remember him talking about that, and because we were having a conversation, and I can't remember how we got into that conversation, but we would have very in-depth conversations about, our different cultures and the way that we see things and how we talk about things, because I wanted to understand as well, like if I say something or if this happens, how does that affect you? Am I being offensive? And then I would share with him when they would do things that would be offensive to me specifically, but maybe to our culture, and we were learning from each other. And when he really was like, no, I don't have my mother's DNA. I only have my father's DNA. And so I was like, oh, okay. But how is that possible? And so it was just something that didn't click, that you have to carry both, but it's that the one that takes precedence, that makes the decisions, that the name is carried and stuff like that, is from the patriarchal side. So they would never consider taking a woman's last name and that kind of thing, or at least most of them, that I understand. So those are just things that, like, we can't go into like leaving the US. We can't go like leave the US and think that we're just going to go other places and everything is exactly the same. And that dating is the same, and that, even the pretenses and the the things like where we think that people are being overly aggressive, that it might be and it might not be, but we kind of have to ask the questions, or be in kind of group settings where you can feel comfortable to ask someone, you know, how do y'all approach women, or why do you guys think that when you approach a woman this way that she has to, you know, kind of give in to you, you know, where does that come from, or you know, what is your way of approaching, and what is your expectation? And so like having those types of conversations is really necessary. And it's not just Africa, like we were just talking about Africa because I think we were still on the blackness of it, you know, the black men, and that's where you're gonna find 98%, you know, but they're different because they're culturally different. And then if you just start going into, you know, like you're down in Mexico, there's Mexican men, you go down into the Caribbean, and then you got your South American who are completely different. And then you start getting over to Europe, you got Australia, and you got Asia, and you got all these other places where everyone, their constructs, everything is different. The mentality is different, the way they were raised. Like there's things that we carry as just Americans in general. We carry race in everything that we do, and a lot of other cultures don't. They don't carry, even though they may have racial and racist tendencies and things like that. It's not as overt as it is in the U.S. And then when you add blackness to it, that's something that we immediately, it's like in the back of our mind that, oh boy, you know, why did that happen? Why did this happen? And a lot of times when they say they don't see color, they really don't, because they just don't. But with that doesn't mean that they also support and applaud or uphold you, because they don't even know sometimes. And those are teaching opportunities, you know, where you can, and I'm going to say this, just because you're dealing with somebody in the US doesn't mean that they understand it either, because I've dealt with black men in the US that will immediately tell you that there's no race issues, or you know, you make these things up, or it's your fault. And so I mean, you could be right here in the States and have somebody tell you that your feelings of inadequacy or feelings of discomfort or fear are unrealistic. So
yeah, it's let's see, I think I had some other things on my list to talk about. Yeah, I would say another thing, and this is probably not, you know, definitely not just specific to dating abroad, but the idea of there's not a very specific formula, because I think a lot of times when we're looking for love, you know, everyone's just kind of like, okay, so what is the specific formula, you know, that you have to live by in order for you to have success? And I feel like there isn't some specific formula. It's, you know, how I feel. Like I was talking to my sister about that, and she's just like, well, what do you think it is? This is kind of like, what's the answer? And a lot of times there is not, you know, some specific answer. It's just like sometimes the stars just have to align. I mean, I think one of the, you know, a portion of, you know, what could be helpful is just to, you know, allow yourself to, you know, to be out there and meet more people, at least be open to that. But as far as you feel like there's a specific formula, that could really give you a lot of anxiety. You know, it's now all the dating coaches and everyone, you know, can guarantee if you follow their formula that, you know, 90 days guaranteed you'll have a husband. It's like that is not realistic. So a lot of times, especially when they're catering towards women, it's just kind of like there's something you're doing wrong. And if I can convince you that there's something that you're doing wrong, then I can probably sell you something to try to fix it. You know, so there's, and of course, you know, there's always things that we can do to heal and to work on ourselves, and, you know, to be more open or whatever. But a specific, you know, algebraic formula that you can solve and make it, you know, work perfectly, that just don't exist.
Right.
You know,
right. And we got to get that out of our head as Black women, that there's this checkbox that we have to go through. As specifically, you know, when you're trying to find someone who meets really important criteria. You know what I'm saying? So finding out what you want, what's important to you, is, I think, the first key. Like, you got to know what you want. We say this even in the States. Like, we go and we start dating and we don't know what we want in the States even, I just, or we as women, and men too, but we as women, we lie to ourselves about, well, he's really nice and I'm okay with if we're just friends. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not okay with just, because as soon as the deed is done, unless it's horrible, you're probably going to want to lock it down. You know what I mean?
Did he call me? Did he call me?
So what I usually,
and I think the craziest thing about in the U.S., because that's where most of my dating experience is, people want to keep everyone in this ambiguity. It's just like, we got something going on, but there's no label on it. And a lot of times, that works for people to keep you exactly where they want to keep you, because if there's no label, they won't make it clear of what you guys are. They can play that both ways, because if you catch them out with another woman, it's just kind of like, well, I never said that we were together, but then they catch you out with another man, well, now you cheating on him. It's like, so they can keep you in this area of confusion, and I feel like it is very important, if you two decide that this is exactly, what it is not anything serious. So if you see me out on Fifth Avenue here in Playa del Carmen, then if you see me out with somebody else, then just go the other way. Or you two decide, like, no, we're together and we're exclusively, dating. It's like, I feel like it is very important. A lot of times, the dating experience in the US, that confusion, people love to keep people in confusion. No one wants labels. And then it's like, no one wants labels, but they create all these labels to label confusion. Situationships, they're because you are doing something, so it's like, you cannot have
everything. Everything is a relationship. Every encounter you have is a relationship of some sort. I don't know why we have gotten to this thing of don't label it, don't call it something. No, let's call it something so we know what it is, and then find out intent. Do you like each other? Do you like me? Do you like, okay, what you got on the side? And we're, the biggest thing for me is let me make an adult decision.
Yeah.
If you lie to me, like, I mean, that's the worst. Like, and that's the biggest thing. It was a movie that came out, and it was, I don't know if it was one of the holidays, something, or He's Not That Into You or something like that. And I remember the one, and I can't even remember what her real name is, or her acting name, but she was with Bradley Cooper, I believe, and they were married, and he was cheating with what's Black Widow's real name? We could call her Natasha. You know what I'm talking about. So Scarlett Johansson.
Is that Scarlett Johansson? I don't know.
Johansson. So he's cheating with her, and the wife has an issue with him smoking. So he goes and tells her, I cheated. And she's like, okay, we can work it out or whatever. But she gets upset and kicks him out because she caught him smoking. Right. And it's so this whole thing of not really being realistic with what it is that we want, what we feel, what we're gonna deal with, but also the tell the truth so that I can then make some sort of decision, beforehand. Don't tell me afterwards, like, okay, so now what? Like, we're already married now. Like, now you put me in a sticky situation. But I always say, honesty is really the best policy. And if you have to lie to somebody to get them, that is the worst. Like, you have violated, no matter if they stay with you or not, you violated trust. You have literally violated, especially if they ask you and you lied. You know what I'm saying? And so I think we owe it to ourselves. That's why I say ask enough questions in the beginning. And if you don't, I've been in situations where I didn't necessarily ask questions because I didn't, I might be just in the beginning stages of getting to know somebody. And so, I'm not really, let me see if I even want to, maybe I don't want to know your last name. Maybe I don't want to know how many children you have or how long you're staying. It's like, okay, we bought drinks and hung out one night or whatever. And chatted, and I just really, you can gauge it from that. But one of my biggest do's is I always go back to having those upfront conversations. And I used to, one of my top 3, how you have your 3 questions that you ask when you date. So mine have changed over time. And one of mine I started asking was sexual preference, because sexual preference to me is a big thing. And because now a lot of people are so much more explorative, if that's something that matters to you, you should ask that up front. Why would I even allow myself to get attached to you if you want to be in an open relationship, or you want, and when I say open, that's open to anything. And I ain't really down with that or whatever. Why wouldn't I ask that in the beginning? And I've even had people say, I had one guy ask, I was in Dallas. I can't remember where I was, but it was up close to it was Plano area. And I was at some event. And I came up with my questions, and I was like, "What's your sexual preference?" Or I can't remember if I asked it that way, or if I did the bad boys thing, where I said, "Do you like me?" And just be upfront about it, because I don't want, so like, especially if I like you, like I typically will only ask like you know what I'm saying? If I'm like, ooh, okay, I see some flavor up in here, or whatever, because I want to know up front so that I can be an adult. And when someone takes my adulting away, because they want what they want, that is really, really unfair. So, that's like one of my big dues is ask, ladies. And, because either they're going to tell you the truth, or they're, and if they lie, you always have that, like, you lie, like I gave you an opportunity to tell me the truth. So
a lot of times you can feel sometimes you can feel when things are off and someone's lying. But I think a lot of we've gotten a lot of bad dating advice about you just got to know, or you just getting to know the guy. It's like, don't ask a bunch of questions, or just kind of see where it goes. And meanwhile, you've gone on 5 dates with the guy and don't realize that this guy, wants a woman who wants 3 more kids, or this guy, like, you might be wasting your time when you guys have deal breakers, in the mix. So it's
right.
very important. It's like, why would someone get offended by you trying to see if this is going to work? But I think a lot of times people approach things from just the sexual standpoint, and they're thinking, if it's only just going to be sexual, then why do we need to know us about each other? But if we don't even ask each other, it's just sexual for him, and it's not just sexual for you, or vice versa.
Right.
Okay, now you're in a disagreement already because you didn't even ask. If we both want the same thing, because I think, it works if 2 people want just something casual, but it's not gonna. I think too many times we find people in situations where someone is making a big sacrifice. You're spending time together, but someone wants just sexual, and then the other person wants something serious, or someone wants kids, the other one don't. I think a lot of times people are in these mismatched situations to where someone is making a huge, sacrifice, to where they shouldn't have been, together to begin with,
Yeah. So I don't think I shared any of my experiences exactly. So I'm gonna share one from Thailand, and it's kind of about the aggressiveness, or what could be viewed as aggressive. And so what was it? So I was walking in some neighborhood area waiting for a friend and just walking down the street, exploring, something that I always do. And a guy pulled up on a moped. I didn't think anything of it because, you know, they drive funny anyway. And so he pulls up on a moped and pulls over. And again, I'm not thinking anything of it. I'm on my phone and I'm walking. And he comes and he stops and stands right in front of me. And so, okay. You know, hey. And he goes to tell me, and he's a white guy, younger guy, clearly younger. I didn't know where he was from. He had an accent, but he spoke English. And he stopped to basically tell me how beautiful I am. And I was like, thank you. That's really nice. You know, that doesn't happen. Somebody pull over on a bike to tell me I'm beautiful, you know, and he was just really adamant. And he goes to tell me that he's a boxer trainer and all this, and he wants to take me out. And here's me going, well, I ain't doing nothing. You know, I can go out to dinner. You know, this is what I'm thinking take you out means. Go to dinner and go get something to eat, meet each other, talk a little bit. This is why I'm saying it's so important for us to understand culturally or the dynamics of the area that you're in, right? They don't call Thailand the land of smiles for nothing, okay? So that day. So anyway, you know, I was like, you know what, I'm going to be open to going out and dating. I'm not on Tinder. I don't do Tinder. I did some dating sites years ago, probably 2006, 2007. And boy, I had a blast because it was funny as HE double hockey sticks. These dating sites, it sounds just like I'm going to stick with the organic thing and just see what happens. So I have not been on any. And Tinder and internationally is everybody's on Tinder international. I think I was like the only person in the group that wasn't on Tinder. And so anyway, exchanged WhatsApp numbers or whatever, and you know, told him thank you. And he was like, he goes, where are you? Where do you live? So in this whole thing, he's like, he goes, how long are you here? Are you a tourist? He asked me if I was a tourist first. And I said, well, no, not really. I'm like living here until I decide to leave. He was like, oh, good. And he was like, and I said, well, I'll be here at least through April or whatever. He was like, you know, I'll show you around. And I was like, well, I've been here before. He's like, yeah, but you haven't seen the city like this. I mean, so he's like really pouring. We really talked like 5 or 6 minutes. So he's pouring it on. And he goes, you know, do you live down here in this area? And I was about an hour away from where I live. And I was like, no, I live up in Surin. And he was like, oh, I teach boxing there tonight. So how about after my session, I'll come and get you and we'll go out on a date. And I think that's the way he said it. He didn't say dinner. He said, go out on a date or I'll take you out. And I was like, okay, that's cool. If you're going to be, and he told me where he was. So I knew exactly which boxing place, because there's 2 right by the apartment that I had in Thailand. And so I was like, all right, bet. So I called my girl. I was like, girl, I just got picked up, you know, or whatever. And I was like, he's cute, you know, why not? Let's just see where it goes, right? Let's see where it goes. I just wanted to have the conversation, because I was just like, you know, what is it, you know, and not that I was, because he was really young, so I'm sure he's probably like 20 something years old. So yeah, nah, boo. But you know, I could pay for my own food. So anybody thinks I was going out for free dinner, because I usually try to offer to pay or at least pay my part. So trust me, I don't need nobody to pay for my food or anything like that. But I was interested in the experience, because I kind of shunned it for so long. And I was like, okay, being here, you can't really avoid it. Like the Black men that I had met up to that point, not one of them was interested in me, at least not that I knew of.
He's like, I'm going to Thailand for you.
I see him on the beach, and I'd be like, you know, I'm like, there go one, and he ain't thought about looking my way. And I'm just like, what are you waiting for, Ali? You sitting and waiting for somebody who ain't even looking for you. They not even looking for you yet. You got a whole line of people, because this one I'm telling you about was one of many that had approached, and I was just like, nah. So missing out on potential opportunities, blessings, you know, just getting to know people and getting to know other cultures. That was what I was doing to myself. I'm creating my own nunship, you know, for no reason. You know what I'm saying? And so anyway, we ended up meeting that night. He came by, he messaged and everything. He was early, but I started to get these weird vibes because he was like, what's your room number? I'm not telling you my room number. I was like, well, I need to tell you my room number. I'm coming down. It's not clicking in my head, right? Until I got downstairs and it kind of clicked. But he was so, let me just tell you the other thing that I noticed. And like I said, I travel a lot. So this ain't my first rodeo. I travel a lot. And the affection, the outward affection is so great. I mean, they don't care. They are very affectionate and very open with telling you how attracted to you they are, right? Touchy feely and all of that. So that's the other thing is verbal. If so, and I don't mean like in a grotesque way. He wasn't disrespectful, but just shoulders and, you know, just touching and, you know, just letting you know that they enjoy your company. Something that I'm going to tell you, that's one of my love languages is touching. And so when you have someone do that, and they're not apprehensive about it, but they're also not aggressive or disrespectful, is also it's something that catches your attention, right? And so anyway, I had a couple of places I'm like I'm still in Thailand, right around here that we go to eat. But and so we ended up getting on his bike and went to one of my favorite spots, you know, because that's where I'm comfortable at or whatever. And he's eating, and I wasn't hungry because I had already eaten and I had gotten a drink. And I noticed right off the bat, because one of the reasons I like to go out is I like to see your demeanor. I like to see how you act. And so he was ordering and he could speak Thai, but he was aggressive to the staff. And that's a turnoff for me. I mean, he was like aggressive. Not aggressive, but he was aggressive, like, you know, because you normally at the place that I went to, you pay as soon as you order. And they brought him the bill and he was like, chill, you know, I'll pay or whatever. And it was just the way that if they were trying to clarify his order and the way he would get up and go and tell them, you know, it was just the vibe. And I was like, I'm not really digging that energy, right? And I can kind of, you know, you can kind of feel things. I'd be like, I ain't gonna be kung fu fighting nobody and all of this, right? And so anyway, we're sitting there and we're talking, and I was like, oh, you know, I'm gonna meet my friend. Oh, that's what he had told me. He was like, you know, he said, you're here till March, April. You come stay with me, or I come stay with you. And I was like, huh? You come stay where? You know, so here's me. I'm like, okay, like, did we move that fast? And then as he's talking, I was like, well, I'm going to meet my friend in a little bit. And he was like, cancel it. Cancel your appointment. I'm going to cancel my appointment. I said, no, I'm not going to cancel. You know, we'll sit here, talk or whatever. And he wasn't really interested in talking, like getting to know each other at that point. So he leaned over the table and he said, do you want to have sex with me? And I said, right now, today? I don't even know your name. And I knew his name because he told me his name. He was actually Russian. And y'all don't make no Russian jokes, you know, or whatever about them, but that's what you find a lot of them.
You're Russian.
And so he said it, and I was like, no. I literally was like, no. I was, you know, dang, I ain't even got a chance to like even see if I'm like, your breath might stink. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, dang. And he immediately, he was like, I gotta go. Finished eating, packed up his stuff, paid for his food, and left. Right? Because his mission was, I like you. You can come and stay with me for the rest of the time that you're here. We'll be together, but let's solidify it with sex today. As much as I was like, hell no, I appreciated that on so many levels. I appreciate it.
Know exactly what that person wants. Because imagine had that been in the US, you know, and not saying that every guy in the US would be like that, but the guy wouldn't have told you that yeah, we can move in together, but this is only going to be a sexual, relationship. And the woman could have moved forward with this guy and thinking like, oh, this is my man. We live together, and people are thinking, oh, okay, go ahead, girl. You found you a man. You in Thailand, like there's something serious. Y'all already living together, and her not realizing that, once April come or whatever, this is over with. It's like, so imagine like you being in two different relationships. Basically, the guy knows exactly what he wants. The woman knows what she wants, but you're in two different relationships. You know?
Right. We in an infatuationship, we in a, and so it was, and that's when it clicked. And I literally started replaying the conversation, everything from beginning to end in my head. And each thing you take to the next one, right? And I was like, oh, that's how that's done here. Let me be on alert so that I at least know that, so I can, counteract it in the beginning if I'm not, feeling that. I can automatically ask, are you interested in having sex with me? I mean, it wasn't like I was on Bangla Road or anything like that. I was down in another city, province area, just walking around or whatever. So, and I was dressed, I had on shorts and a tank top, basic, or whatever. And so it wasn't any of the typical things that someone would say, oh, you must have had your hands out, or you must have this, or you must have that, and all this. And it wasn't any of that. He just found me attractive, and he made his move, and I misinterpreted what that was, and he said it straight, and that was it. You know what I'm saying? And then after that, it became more and more clear, like, having these conversations. Somebody walked by one day, I was sitting on my rocks where I normally sit and kind of just zen out and chill. And this guy ran by, and he ran back by, and he stopped to tell me that he felt like I needed some loving, and he loved only Black women. And, and he, and you're just you're a beautiful person. And one of the interesting things is I look at opportunities to get to know people and how they function, because so the United States is really such a small part of this whole globe. Like, we're really, really small, even though we're a global powerhouse in so many ways. We're really just big bullies everywhere else, but our mentality and the way that we do things is really obsolete across the world. From metric systems all the way down to how we manage things from relationship perspectives and stuff like that. And so I'm really intrigued with getting to know people, and their history, their story, how you got here. I met so many people while I was there and these are some of the things about being open to friendships. Like, the person who told me that, this when I was on the beach, I was like, we can be friends. That's all, all I'm really interested in. And he was game for that. He just sends me messages and stuff here and there. And he's a really nice guy. And I'm sure, in the back of his head, he might want something at some point. Much older gentleman, probably older than me. But his experiences, some of them living abroad from home, since they were 20. This was the story I got from pretty much every other person I met there that approached me with interest. And there were so many. And like you were saying at the beginning, how many people literally come up to you and are interested in you, or tell you that you're beautiful, or tell you, I want to take you out, or do whatever, I want to go for a margarita, whatever they say. It just seems like it's so much more plentiful when you leave. Now, this is the most, Thailand, out of the places I went to, Thailand probably I had the most interaction like that. I didn't have a lot. I had a lot in Kenya, not so much in Tanzania, a lot in Egypt, because that's just what they do. You're a visitor. That's all that was about. I don't live there, so that was just like, hey, what can we do? So so it piggybacks off of what you were talking about earlier, where I think one of the things I said when I first left is ladies, if you want to be boosted, like if you want to, and I said this when I was in Mexico, if you want to like start to feel good about yourself again, because you don't get the compliments, and everybody wants to be complimented. Like, who doesn't want to be complimented? You know, we hear all the time, tell our Black men that they're beautiful and that they're loved. We do, but tell us too, right?
Yeah.
And when we don't have to coerce somebody and somebody else just says it, my biggest thing, and this is like one of the kind of touchy things, is ladies, one of the things, Black women specifically, you know, I think from a cultural or Black on Black kind of relationship type of setting, we clash a bit. And I think part of the reason why we clash is because we have similar traumas. So we are going through the same thing. We've gone through the same thing. We are trying to recover from some of the same traumas. And we expect from each other, we expect a level of grace that maybe we aren't able to give. And I think part of the reason we're not able to give a certain level of grace is because we don't know how. We've never experienced being loved by somebody who does not have the same trauma as us, right? And with that, part of what I'm saying is you almost can't be fully open until you're open enough to deal with somebody who does not carry the same trauma that you have. Because how can you be somebody else's peace when we're actually competing with one another? Like, and I'm not saying like it can't work, because there are some people that are mature enough to say, okay, look, we're in this fight together. We're going to work on this together. And these are Black successful relationships that have worked.
Yeah.
But how often do we see in all of these groups we're in, all this bickering and fighting for hierarchy control, and you know, and if she
who has it the worst? It's like, who has it the worst? Black women or Black men? And a lot of times that has been an argument that, you know, well, you'll happen. It's just kind of like, no, you know, we as, you know, Black women have it the worst, and then the Black guys are feeling like, and that's a fight that you're having within a relationship.
Yeah,
you know, it's we're oppression Olympics in our relationships, and it's added to just all the other problems, you know, and obstacles there are in a relationship, period. And then you're adding on, you know, a competition of, you know, who is the most oppressed. I'm wondering if that argument is, you know, for, like, instance, if you're having just trouble in your life, like if you're just like, hey, you know, I don't want to be bothered right now because, you know, just out there in the world, I'm having problems with, you know, at work, and I'm having problems with microaggressions. And then your man can come and be like, well, no, we got it worse. It's just kind of like, I don't want to hear that you're, you know, tired or whatever, because we got it worse than y'all got it. That can definitely be tough on a relationship, because you feel like, is the person trying to gaslight you for you not to be able to get the sympathy and not to be able to get the care because they got it worse than you got it, so they don't want to hear what you have to say.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it's tough, and I'm not just, this isn't just, you know, a Black woman thing. I think the reason I'm focusing on us is because, one, I'm a Black woman. Number two, I had to come to a realization that maybe as open as I am, I wasn't as open as I thought I was. I clearly wasn't. I'm going to tell you, I clearly wasn't, because I was like, you know how I'm dodging them left and right, like, nope, that's not what I want. Nope. And then I'm sitting here going, but what is it that you want? Because the lifestyle that you're living, you're going to be single for the rest of your life if you got this requirement that it has to be a Black man, because ain't none of them out here where I'm going looking at me. Not one of them. And then it's like, you know, what if you meet somebody who wants to live the life? Absolutely. You know, that's beautiful. That would be wonderful. But I can't sit and wait for the possibility. And that's what I realize, is that in this thing where we're going through this process of finding ourselves and learning to re-love ourselves, we also have to learn to be loved. Because I think that's one of the biggest things, is like, is learning to receive love outside of yourself. Once you start to give grace to yourself, you know, be okay receiving love. And I think getting past this stigma that we have, that we are so responsible, and you guys can't go out and you know, go outside of your race and date and be happy. So you're happy for me only if my structure looks a certain way. If my happiness, you know, kind of it looks, you know, and I'm like, but for 50 years, you know, in my dating life, so 30 years of my dating life, I've tried that. I've tried it, you know. So wouldn't it behoove me to allow the possibility of something else? You know, in the back of my mind, you know, I still got the little tally mark, like, okay,
yeah,
I would love for it to be,
yeah.
but
I think,
you know.
yeah, a lot of times the whole, you know, feeling happy for someone because they just found love, a lot of times that's not reserved for us, but that might be reserved for others. It's kind of like everyone else. It's like, oh, I understand. It's like you were in Australia. Of course, you're going to find someone that's non-Black. But then as a Black woman, it's just kind of like you betrayed your, you know, you betrayed your entire community. And, you know, also, you know, that the person automatically, you know, is with you for the wrong reasons. And then it's almost like there's sometimes a hope that the person gets to tell you, I told you so. So it's almost like then people are kind of rooting for almost something bad to happen to you for them to be able to say, I told you so.
Yep. Yep.
You know,
And they wonder why you want to keep your relationships private and stuff like that. Yeah, that's an awful feeling. But when you said it, it's an absolute
yeah, you
reality.
notice that you know, some of, you know, the sisters, you know, say for instance, she was in, you know, is in a relationship, or something happens to her and, you know, she was in an interracial relationship. A lot of times it seems like everyone's looking like, well, yeah, you deserved it though, because you betrayed your community. And I mean, in any situation, you anyone with, you know, with any race of person can end up to where it goes wrong and it turns into some domestic violence or whatever.
Right.
You know, right. And so, you know, anyone going through that, we shouldn't like celebrate that something's, you know, happened to them because they didn't do things, you know, the way we wanted them to do. So there's a lot of control. A lot of people want control over our life, not just in relationships, you know, even the whole living abroad thing. A lot of people are angry to see Black women, you know, living outside the US. It's just kind of like there's a fight that needs to be fought. And how dare you decide to go live your life and be happy without choosing, you know, fighting and you know, and just struggling. It's like, how dare you, you know? Yeah. It's almost like people feel like you have to sacrifice your life, you know, to people, you know. And, you know, for me, especially being someone who does not have kids, it's just kind of like, you can't guilt me into feeling like I'm supposed to sacrifice my life to someone, you know. And if you think that I don't deserve happiness, you don't like me to begin with. So you're wanting me to sacrifice my life for someone who don't even like me, you know, like that don't even make sense, you know.
Well, because that's the life people. It's like the movie Misery. Misery loves company, and most times, you know, people secretly have an issue with not just levels of success, but wow, okay, you just did something, and it's like this disapproval of your life, not realizing that, you know, you are an adult and so you can make your own decisions. But I always wonder why the stick is harder for Black women than it is for anybody else. Everybody, I mean, so many other people, Black men, date outside of their race and have been forever, right? Why is it such a big deal if a Black woman considers it, you know, or says, you know, I'm going to go into this, you know, where, you know, we hear all the time, love is where you find it. Okay, well, you know what? Let's try it. Let's give it a try then, because I'm not getting any suitors, that look like me.
Mhm.
So, or you might be, but they're not. People can like you and enjoy you and all of this, but or like you, but not like who you are.
Mhm.
So, and I felt with that when I dated someone years ago, that this person, how they met me, they loved it, but then they wanted me to stop that and become something else
Mhm.
once, we were together. And I'm like, but how do I turn off my personality? And I tried. I
Mhm.
literally, and I called it bursting at the seams. Like, I literally, Ali was bursting at the seams because I tried to suppress who I was to accommodate this person. And I was just like, I can't keep doing those types of things because it's miserable, right? That might be giving you peace, but it's not giving me peace. And I think what we have to realize is that we're not for everybody just because, and this is kind of like the key to this dating thing, whether it's domestic or international, that just because someone likes us, male or female, but since we're Black women, men, and we are heterosexual in our dating, when a man approaches us, just because a man approaches like your laundry guy and he liked you, you're not obligated to say yes.
Mhm.
Every time someone comes into your space and wants to, be entertained by you or entertain you, doesn't mean you have to say yes. But I want us to also learn that we can loosen the reins on our rule book
Yeah.
and start to learn to say yes to at least the experience. Because
Mhm.
it's like, how do you say it's like saying you don't like a certain food, but you've never tried it before. And I'm talking about reasonable things. I'm not talking about like chitlins or something like that, y'all. I'm talking about like, like a cucumber, or whatever. So, and I think that plays into this as well, as how do we globally say that this is the best for us when we don't even have anything to compare it to.
Yeah.
And so I just felt like, there's so much that I'm learning as I'm going that I thought I knew. I thought, well, this is the path, this is what I want. But I literally in Kenya, and I manifested this the reality of how I'm positioning myself. I have to start thinking about the reality of what I'm going to encounter. And I've been sitting back, watching patiently, having conversations with different people. Different people pop up, and people are they pop up when they are entertained by something. Like, oh my God, oh, that's really cool. So it's more like I'm a circus act. Like, oh my God, what you're doing is so neat, and I love it, and all that. When are you coming back? you know,
Mhm.
or are you going to do, I had somebody ask me, are you going to do this all the time? Or somebody said to me, when do you sit down? And I said, I sat down for 48 years.
Mhm.
So, just because you met me now
Mhm.
doesn't mean I now change what I'm doing because you are interested in me. And so, my big do is figure out what it is that you want and move in that direction, but don't close it off. Don't make it so narrowly focused that, I only want a man who travels and does what I do and all this. Cause like you were saying, maybe he wants to and he hasn't yet. I
Mhm.
personally would prefer for him to have already been traveling because,
Yeah,
it's
I
like, I don't
feel
necessarily
like
want to,
that too. Yeah, I mean, because like I said, I met a guy who it's like he was proud that he had never been on a plane and that he would never go on a plane. And so that being said, that's for sure not going to work. But maybe it is a guy who is like, you know what, that's something that I've always wanted to do, and so but I think a lot of times it would be best if this person has at least been out of the country or whatever, because but I don't know, it depends. If you might feel like the person where you're excited about seeing them experience things for the first time, because
yes,
just like
yes.
my just friends, female friends, or family members, when you see them experiencing something for the first time, it is cool seeing that through their point of view, because you remember it when you
Yes.
saw things for the first time, and when you understood that, other countries are not as just totally other planets like you thought it was going to be,
Right. It's like it's like right around the corner or whatever. And then, what is honestly for me kind of a turn on is when you're with somebody who doesn't say, "Oh, you've already been there. I don't want to go. You've already been there. I don't want to go." And I'm just like, if you group it as a continent or country, I go to countries now and I visit cities. So I was in Kenya and I did 6 cities. I was in Tanzania, I think I did 5 cities. I was in, well, Egypt was just a visit, but I mean, I did, all the cities down the Nile and all of that. And then when I was in Thailand, I went to I was in 3 different provinces. And within those provinces, hung out in the different city neighborhood areas or whatever they call them. And so, and when I was in Mexico, I went to nine different cities in Mexico, and it's really different. And so the to miss out on experiencing something with somebody because they've already been somewhere, that's a turn off. So when I meet somebody, because I have traveled, not even a lot, like I haven't even really, I've only scratched the surface, but I traveled a lot, and to have and to have somebody like already feeling inferior to my travel, that's a red flag for me, because my first thing is, okay, here we go. This person is they're gonna potentially have issues with things as we go along, and I don't want that. I want somebody that we're meshing where we are right now. There's one of the things that, like, so this is like the red flag part of this, before we wrap up, but one of the things that I think is important is kind of identifying, as I asked the questions earlier, and pay attention to behaviors, identifying early on when somebody isn't really rooting for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, it's cool. Okay, you used to be a stripper. I caught you at the strip club, but now you got to quit. Well, if she didn't want to quit and that's where you met her, I mean, we gonna battle that all forever. But let's just keep it on traveling, because I know somebody will have something controversial to say about stripping. But if a person has always been traveling, or let's say someone works and they've always had this job and they're the CEO of a company, and you marry them, and all of a sudden they're supposed to step down because you marry them. If y'all didn't have that discussion beforehand, that's not fair. Or in our instance, we're in this travel game. We're really travel space, not travel game, but a travel space. We are. This is our lives. This is how we are envisioning living for the rest of our lives, or the good majority of it. Like, my goal is to be outside of the United States the majority of the time. And I know that there are some people that can't manage that because of their lifestyle, children, parental situations, whatever the case may be. I don't want to feel guilty for wanting to travel because that person can't.
Yeah, and it's so funny. I've met guys, and we are so at the very beginning, of getting to know each other. And so that means that if there's deal breakers, we can just go our separate ways, no hard feelings. But I've had guys saying stuff, but you have to consider when people have kids and this and that. This, I don't have to consider when people have kids, because I do not have kids. So if I've been on 2 dates with you, then and especially if it's online dating, my online dating profile told you what I was about, and that I wanted to travel, the world, wants, someone who was open to that. I don't have to consider anything, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I understand as a human being where your life is at, and I understand that, okay, well, it was good, meeting you, and I'm not going to force you to do what I do. But how dare you say that I have to consider, I don't have to consider that. I don't have kids, Now, if I was, if I had decided to marry this man, and I'm going to be a stepmother to his kids, and I made that commitment, and I'm still like, no, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. Okay, well, that's different. It's different if that's my husband and those are my stepkids. But being someone that we're still strangers, I don't care if we've went on one date and talked on the phone 5 times, I don't have to consider nothing.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Like, yeah, I'll have to consider letting you in my space. I also find that like people think that when you meet them, and I think that happens across the board too. Like your laundry guy was like, "Can I come in later? Can I come by later?" Like, I don't know you. You know what I'm saying? So that's something I see across the board, where I don't think, and I talk to my brothers a lot about this, where I don't think men understand why women kind of pull back from that, because how do you not automatically see that's a safety concern?
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, we can go on first dates, and if it feels right, and she and you know whatever, that's great. But if she says no, I don't feel comfortable, I don't understand why people get upset about
People
that.
play both sides of that coin.
Yes.
It's just kind of like we all adults here, but on the other hand, let you be the person that would have invited him in and it went totally left. It's just kind of like, how dare you put yourself in that situation? You must, it's people want to play both sides of the coin.
Yes, there's always something, and this is why I think yesterday on my video I said, live your life, start living your life. And so I think one of my last kind of do's for women dating is well, not one of the last ones, but one of the things that I think I wrote down was, one, when you're dating, is safety. Let somebody know. Let somebody know where you're going. I have like on my, well, if I'm here in the States on Uber, I can send somebody my link if I'm taking Uber, or tell a girlfriend, tell a friend, hey, I'm going to meet this person, I'm going out. I was way in Thailand and told my brothers about me going, on a date or doing whatever. Not like he could come, but I wanted my family to know in case, because I'm like, I have to start living life, right? And so there's certain, things that, I'm in another country. I met some people here, and even with the ladies, I was like, we need to make sure we at least let somebody else in our group know, because we don't live with each other. So let each one of us know that, someone, I'm going out, I'm meeting this person, this is where we're going, or whatever. And then somebody touch base the next day, hey, you back at your house, or you there, you good, all that kind of thing. So
that's a big thing. We have that here in Playa, to where, we're always, letting people know, where we're at, and letting people know that we've made it to, back home, so no one worries. So.
Right. Erica says, why do black women, I'm thinking saying, why are black women expected to be loyal to the black man and he is not loyal to the black woman? At this point in my life, I am doing what makes me happy, regardless of what anyone says. Live your life. We're in a state of live your life, because number one, it's like never taking your vacation and expecting your company to have sympathy because you never took your vacation. First of all, ain't nobody gonna remember you ain't take your vacation except you, and you the only one that's gonna be miserable. And so it's the same thing with this, is we could sit around and wait forever for what we painted. So on one hand, we're told that we're living a fairy tale, or women want to live this fairy tale land. You guys are always watching these Disney films and stuff, but why is it that when we deal with other people, that's how they approach it? It's not a fairy tale. They're just, I think part of the issue is understanding what women and men want. And this goes back to the trauma thing, that I think that there's so much trauma. We're in constant competition with one another. And so when you find yourself in a situation with someone where you're competing and you're going tit for tat about this and that, because it's not that hard to understand a person. Either you like them or you don't. Either they're worth you making concessions for, or they're not. Either they're worth you breaking your walls down and allowing them in, or they're not. You know what I'm saying? There is nothing, that needs to be discussed at the level that we discuss it over and over again about cheating, about why women this, why men that. It really isn't. Find the person that you're really compatible with and put your all into it. If that's what you are looking for, if that's what you want to do. There is no rule book. No one else can tell you. No one else, if I start dating somebody today, nobody else in any one of these groups can explain to me why the person I dated did what they did. except the person I dated. Now you can speculate on why they did or who they are, or, you know, well, this person, oh my God, they're so lovey-dovey and they're this and that. Yeah, that's because they're trying to get in your pants. But and every man trying to get in my pants, and I'm trying to get in his probably. You know, we're just as sexual as men. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, you know, sometimes you know, we're fighting battles, like you were saying earlier. We've added to the fight that we already have to have every single day as human beings. We're adding to a fight every day. And so, ladies, number one, let somebody know where you're going and who you're going to be with. Listen to what he or she says. So if you're dating, if you're a guy, you're dating, you know, going on dates with women, trying to find a prospective one, and women, if you're going out and trying to find a prospective guy, or, you know, however you intermingle in your dating world, that significant other, listen to what they're actually telling you, because most people tell you who they are and what they're about. Now, I know people lie. I can't help you with all that. I'm just going to say, just try to listen to what people say. Flirt, have fun, and say what you want out loud, right? I know a lot of people would say, well, you know, it's how she said it. If she would have said this, if you got to tell somebody how to structure a sentence, they're not for you. Especially when we get this old. I'm 50 years old, and if I say something that is harsh, you can let me know. But maybe there's 7 billion people in the world, y'all. We don't have to reconstruct people. If I can't tell that I've said something or done something that makes you that offends you or makes you feel a certain way, I'm probably not the right person for you, because I don't have enough empathy for you. And those are the things that we have to figure out in the beginning. That's why when people say, don't talk about politics, don't talk about race, don't talk about religion, don't talk about finances early on, the hell we're not. At 50, we're not having those conversations in the beginning. And I'm talking about, we're not just looking for sex. If you're just looking for sex, you just want to know, does it fit properly? You know, that's all you want to know. But if you want something more, why aren't we having these conversations before date number 5? Why the hell am I going on 5 dates with you? And
that's why it's blowing up later. That's why a lot of things blow up later. Because you didn't know the person. It's like you were just trying to keep everything light and not step on anyone's toes. And if you would have had those conversations, you know, at the beginning, you wouldn't have wasted a lot of time, you know.
Yeah. We got to be on the same, at least. And what I say is don't look for someone who's exactly like you, because that's not what you want. But you want someone, this is like, I think will be my last thing that I say is look for someone, and this is in any type of relationship, someone who is going in the direction that you're going. So you don't want to be dating in your past. You want to date in your future. And it's just like any relationship. You want to start building relationships with people who look like your future, not people who look like what you're trying to get away from, or, you know, because you're stuck and you're comfortable in this, even though you know you need to change, but you keep doing the same old thing. You're never going to progress to the next thing. So sometimes that means being uncomfortable, which also means sometimes doing some things, opening up your horizons enough to even have a conversation, to see, because you might go in and go on a date with somebody who's, you know, not your preference, your race, whatever, and have enough dates and be like, yeah, no, I'm gonna stick with my brothers. You know, you might have that, but how would you know if you don't ever, you know, give yourself a chance? And maybe it gets to the point where you say, I have to move to a certain place to have this type of access that I'm looking for, and this is the type of guy.
Some women may structure what country they're moving to, based on that. You know, even like you said in Tanzania, or Tanzania, as they say, you felt like it was not compatible for you dating wise, you know. And so, I mean, a lot of times, you know, you can. You know, some people will move to a place, but that can be tough sometimes too, to where it's just kind of like, I want to experience the world. That's one thing that I don't want to do ever again, because when I got divorced, I lived in Austin, Texas. there wasn't a lot of people checking for Black women in Austin, Texas. And, and maybe, what, I'm not even going to say that. I think it wasn't, a lot of the brothers were not looking at Black women in Austin, and so a lot of the couples were interracial. The Black woman would be with someone else, the Black man would be with someone else. So I think Austin, like even Dave Chappelle said in one of his stand-ups, like everybody here is in an interracial relationship. And so I think that at the time, me being someone who had was married to a Black man, had only dated Black men, that didn't feel like it worked for me in Austin, because you felt like everyone's, all the brothers are gonna be looking at you like, no. So but then I moved to Dallas with dating in mind, not just dating. It's like I ended up finishing my degree. I had some family there. The opportunities for employment was better there for me. But I also, a big thing was dating as well. I'm like, I can't do that anymore, because you can move to that area that you think that dating is going to be right, and you never found anything serious there. You moved there specifically for dating. You can't guarantee it that's going to work out, or that you're going to meet anyone in this area that you're moving to for dating purposes. So for me, I will never move anywhere for dating purposes. Whoever's meant for me is going to find me where I'm at. That's just going to be what it is.
I see that. That makes sense, because you do hear a lot of people ask, would you move for love? And I think after I've met somebody, I would potentially move somewhere.
Yeah.
But I don't know that. But I do know that some people go to regions. They go to, like people go to Africa because it's plentiful. Like we all up in that joint, and you just got to navigate around the 54 countries to find what's suitable for you. And there's, so many different elements that you have to think about in that, just like anywhere else. But yeah, if that's what you're wanting, that's like the Mecca.
Yeah, because I saw too many times, especially like in travel groups, or just single groups for Black people or whatever, to where it's just kind of like, what's a good area for dating? And then the sisters in the comments like, well, I'm moving there. It's like, you will be very disappointed if you moved anywhere for dating. But I have also saw situations to where even some of my travel sisters, they might travel to an area to spend a long period of time there. And I have saw some of my travel sisters to where they've met a guy in their area. So them and that guy are deciding to move somewhere together because, they met in the journey. That's different from someone said that, Copenhagen is the place for men, and I'm specifically moving there because I'm like,
although I've been to Copenhagen. So
it is a place.
I'm just gonna say that it's a different culture, and they just, and yeah, I mean, I was there for a very short time, but the energy was very, like there wasn't particular like how we are, we see color first, so it wasn't like that. And those are just things that you have to eventually get used to. And I mean, it's a tougher thing for Americans. It really is across the board. And once we actually acknowledge that race is really tough, all the stigmas, all the different things that we've experienced and gone through, you kind of can decide which direction you want to go in from there, and to each his own. We say that all the time, but I don't think we actually mean it when we say it, because really to each his own, and everyone should be afforded happiness, whatever that happiness looks like. We shouldn't really be out to judge people because of what they choose. I mean, I see we do it all the time. As soon as we love Dave Chappelle, Everybody loved Dave Chappelle until they found out who he was married to.
Mm-hmm.
He's still a explosive comedian though, right? Oh, so he ain't cool no more because he ain't married to a black woman? Oh, okay. Okay. You know, then everybody started commenting on his, you know, on his mentality and all of this. And, you know, and I'm just like, man, we are, and I didn't see it then. I see it more now because somebody actually pointed out, they were like, wow, you talk about race a lot. And I said, because this is what I live. Like, when I go back home, this is what I have to deal with. My son is still there. This is real for us. And a lot of places, I had so many people say, not to turn this into a race conversation, but a ton of people say to me, is that happening like now? And I was like, y'all ain't got Google? Like, how do y'all not know? And it's because it's not a forefront for them. So it's not something that they look for. But, you know, that happens all the time when we say we're happy for somebody or we think somebody is dope and this, that, and the other. And the one thing that will make us change is who they decided to marry.
Yeah, and it's I mean, it's just so hard to find that person that you're compatible with. You know, I think, you know, for me, I could, and luckily enough, I got to meet Dave and actually talk for a long time. You know, of course, yeah. Before I met him, I knew that that he was married to a non-black woman, and that didn't make me feel, you know, any, you know, different about like, this is a cool guy. The only time, you know, I think a lot of times when people, or myself, if I have a problem with a certain guy and he happens to be married to a non-black woman, it would be more so if he is just kind of like, I'm married to a non-black woman and I'm going to make sure my duty is to smear the name of black women for life. That type of stuff. It's just like, I don't dislike that you're married to a non-black woman. I dislike the attacks, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
leave the rest of us out of it. Do you, but leave us out of it. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same for women. Like, we shouldn't bash black men because we want to, you know, women want to spread their wings and see something else. All I'm saying is women, stop waiting to experience, you know, something that could be happiness for you, you know, because of those stigmas and things like that. Like, you know, at some point we have to, we can't do and be for us if we're not going to do and be for us, you know, because somebody's going to chastise us. It's like living in the hood, in the ghetto or whatever, and somebody see you, you know, oh, so you on the other side. Oh, I see you trying to, you know, like trying to do better for yourself. Like, are we past that? Like, wasn't that in the 60s and 70s when we would antagonize people like that? No, that is not, it makes no sense to me. It's one of those things that, you know, I love to see black on black. I ain't gonna lie. Like, when I see some of these people who've been married for 20, 30, 40 years, I think it's just amazing. But then the flip side, when, like I said, when you see somebody and they do all the memes and stuff and they show, you know, non-black, you know, whatever, and the, you know, interracial marriages and stuff like that, I go, you know, and all the backlash that they get, and I'm just like, hey, what we just talking about? You know, unconditional love, and, you know, and that word unconditional, we actually didn't talk about that today, but that's what kind of what you were talking about earlier, when you're just like, you know, what we were talking about, you know, you want somebody who is into you without you being bougie or, you know, pretentious and all of that. You want the true unconditionalness of it without the rules and the regulations and stipulations and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, I don't know that we can solve it all in one day, but, you know, I think this was a good conversation. And I'm so glad you came on and shared some of your experiences, and, you know, and I'm sure, you know, this is almost 3 hours we've been on here talking, which is crazy. But it's one of those things where I didn't want to cut it short, because sometimes when you cut it short, then you miss things. And I'm sure some people are going to be like, you know, they're going to listen to the first 10 minutes and miss the entire rest of the conversation. There's so much depth to what we're talking about. And it isn't just a one-sided, you know, black women go and date outside of your race. No, ain't nobody saying that. But what we are saying is happiness comes in multifaceted. It's not just finances, it's not just family, it's also in your relationships, and you deserve to see what actually makes you happy. And be able to decide that for yourself. And that's just a realization that I had to come to, that, you know what, who am I deciding this for? Who am I sitting and waiting for? And why did I create that rule for myself? So just giving women the pass to, you know, to do this. What would you say? What would be your last?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, and for me, with my future, I don't know what that's going to look like. And, you know, I don't know what that's going to look like in dating, and who I'll end up with, if I'll end up married again or whatever. But I guess just being open. But my last point would be like, yeah, don't ever sacrifice your life because you want to please people, and you don't want to be talked bad about. So, you know, you're living in another country, but you're just kind of like, people are going to talk about me if I open up my, you know, options. If, you know, even, you know, if I'm not with a Black American man, then people are going to talk about me. So, so I'm just going to go ahead and sacrifice my life, you know, to other people. They're still going to talk about you. You know, if someone is okay with you not being happy to please them, they don't have your best interest at heart. And whether you sacrifice, you know, and be single for the rest of your life, they're still gonna find something else to talk about.
They're gonna talk about that. They're gonna have an issue with that.
Oh, yeah, then it's just kind of like, what's wrong with you, can't get a man?
Right. Well, I was waiting for the Black man to, you know, to look. Well, why don't you just come home? And don't nobody want to travel like that. You trying to live a lot, you know. Then it's like we'd be on here another 4 hours. Absolutely, what you just said is 100%. I'm gonna read Quadso
argument in the comments.
Yeah. Quadso says, I'm just gonna read the last comment. Ali, contrary to an earlier comment, we have to be more compromising with each other. Who's the each other? Are you talking about Black people, or just compromising with each other across the board as the human race, when it comes to dating? Because yes, I agree that we should definitely compromise. I think that's one of the words that we used earlier in the discussion is, you know, you got to find who you're willing to compromise with, and if the color of a person's skin or ethnicity or where they come from or whatever is not it's not a sticking point, then it shouldn't matter. And I had to come to
like it's weird, and I think we all do as human beings sometime. Okay, you've made your decision, and sometimes it could be people who are already in a relationship or something. So you found your person, but you want to control what everybody else does. It's just like, why should that matter? You know, if you have found your person, if you feel like you're going to stay in, you know, the U.S. and it's going to be easier for you, you know, to, you know, date within your race or whatever, then why, you know, would you feel like I have to control what every other Black person does with their relationship? And I think that's something that we have to learn on both sides, you know. Yeah, and Quadso feels like the Black. He said Black men and Black men must be more compromising, and I guess to each other.
To each other, yeah, I agree, and it might be playing off of kind of what we were sharing our experiences with Black men, and why, you know, part of it is okay, well, we might need to start seeking something else, because if we're not as desirable, or if I'm only desirable from the stage, if I'm only desirable from, you know, somebody watching me, but they're never going to approach me, and they're never, you know, that's lonely. That becomes lonely. And why should it be? There's 7 billion people in the world. But yeah, and that's what I was saying, Quad. So I don't know if you were on when I was saying, I think, you know, we have such similar traumas that it might be difficult for us to know how to love on each other the proper way. And like I said, we've got, you know, we're not guaranteed life, but if you can go and experience life and just different situations that open you up to what that actually feels like to be loved and to be cared for, you have more of an opportunity to be able to give that to someone else. And that's part of what I was just saying is I think that we have a trauma bond with each other, and that trauma bond makes us compete with each other. And sometimes what I'm realizing more and more is we might need to have an experience where we're not in competition with somebody, and that person teaches us something then that we can then take. And if we want to, I mean, I'm not saying, it's a trial and error kind of thing, something works, something doesn't, but you learn something from every relationship that you're in. And maybe that's why we're so unsuccessful, or not so unsuccessful, because there's so many, my parents are still together, my brothers, I know a lot of Black on Black relationships. I know
my parents are still together, too. I think, and I think, to Quadzos, the conversation is about dating abroad. And so for like, say, brothers or sisters, if like, say, a brother moved to, Mexico, a sister moved to Mexico, some of the stuff that Quadzo is talking about, like, us and, you might not be around any other Black people. So some of the things of the focus on Black, and you're someone who's going to be a digital nomad and you're moving all over the place. If your focus is only going to be on Black, then you would probably, specifically maybe just do online and then ask that person to move where you are. But if you're not doing that, it would probably be very frustrating to somebody for the focus to be on Black if they're in a country that is not a majority, Black country. So, I guess the conversation is, dating, abroad. And then also, you can have that focus on. You might have to focus on other Black people all you want, but they might be in that country like we were talking about earlier. The brother's like, I didn't come all way here to Mexico for you. I'm like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, because they got everything else, and I literally just experienced this, and I met a nice handful, and I was like, hey, and then I was like, oh, I was like, my bad,
you get curved really quick to where,
and I'm oh, touche. Okay, I need to get myself together, because
and not saying that always happens, but I think you can definitely get your feelings hurt really quick to be a nomad in a country that's not majority Black, and you thinking every Black man that you see is going to be a dating option. And like I said, he's like, why did you think I came to Thailand or Mexico? You think I came here to be with Black women? Like,
right. And that's exactly, and honestly, that is sometimes what they will say. If they've been there long enough, they will literally, kind of come out and say that. I mean, I'm here because or they'll be like, kind of just loose conversation. The local women here are beautiful. Something like that. Okay, well, I'm not a local woman, so I mean, you can read between the lines and figure things out without having a person kind of like stab you in your heart with something,
And then also, I guess it's and also I think they're trying to let you know that they don't mind the friendship.
Right.
We're both expats, we're both Black Americans, but without letting you down too hard and being mean about it, they're letting you know what which would make sense. Wouldn't that make, like, what a lot of times what we do as Black women don't make sense, and then people get mad at the guys for doing what makes sense, meaning that wouldn't it make sense if you, like, say you were in an Asian country to where they're very homogenous societies, you went to an entire homogenous society that's non-Black, and you looking for a Black, not just a Black person, you're looking for a Black American person. But then if I, as a Black woman, I see that only brother on the streets, like, oh my goodness, another Black American person. And I'm
First of
mad
all,
in that homogenous society, not looking for a Black woman. That would be insanity if he was. Like, I moved to South Korea to look for a Black woman. Well,
yeah, and
who's
I think what you're talking about is we as women have to start being realistic.
yeah,
And because what he's talking about is we got to give grace and all of that, and we have. That's why I'm 50, realizing that all the pretenses
embrace
that
yourself. Embrace yourself.
that I've been holding and walking around with, other people aren't. They're not, and those who fit my livelihood, what I want, what is just natural and free flowing for me, are not a lot of Black men, not a lot of Black American men, or even the ones that I've met, some from the UK and stuff like that. But they're not looking. I mean, I've met them. They literally are not looking for me, and not to say that no one is, but in the grand scheme of things, they're not. And so many of us have tried that. We've tried that. Give it our all and compromise as much as possible, and that's why we're having this conversation, because sometimes you can compromise yourself right into nunship, and I don't want to be a nun for the rest of my life, for the sake of saying, I held the torch for Blackness, or something like that. Like, I love it. I love me. I love my people, and all of that. But, at some point, either I say I'm just not going to live my life and be happy and come back to the States and be miserable, because at least there's Black men here. But I'm here, and I could be in, how long I've been in Dallas? You want me to tell you how many people I've dated in Dallas?
Yeah, I was in Dallas for quite a bit, and there was a lot of Dallas definitely had a lot more Black men than Austin, and then also there's going to be more Black men that will at least entertain you, as opposed to Austin. I'm not saying that everybody in Austin don't date Black women. That's not what I'm saying, but people will tell you you're not trying enough, and you will dedicate decades, and it's still not working, but then it's your fault, you must be doing something wrong. And like I said, there's not necessarily a formula to it, but sometimes you can just go out and live your life and just be happy, and decide you're going to travel the world, and
let what comes come.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it should be. It should be, when we say, well, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens should follow you doing what you want to be doing. And with that, what do you encounter? Who do you encounter? And that lets you know who your soulmate, your twin flame, who it is that is supposed to be in your circle, because your energy is drawing them rather than color. And that's my biggest thing is we are literally, and I've been doing this, y'all. I'm 50. So I'm speaking from personal perspective. I've been doing this all my life, where that was a box that was automatically checked with subconsciously. I was checking it subconsciously, period, until recently, when I realized I was checking it subconsciously, and I've limited so many experiences because I was checking that subconsciously, and I wasn't basing my experiences off of the energy that I was attracting or receiving, and different things, or who just wanted to be in my space, because we shared commonalities regardless of what shade our skin is. I was void to it without even realizing I was void to. So I've compromised without even knowing I was compromised.
Yeah.
So we some of us have done it, and I just want to say, I know a lot of, it doesn't negate what anyone else is doing, and I hope whoever is listening to this doesn't think that it's a cry to go and in all arms against anything. It isn't. It's an all arms to be open. So that we can start to reach our full potential and our happiness, just like everybody else is, and it shouldn't be defined by what someone else thinks it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, for sure. Well, me and you could talk for 24 hours straight.
Yeah. We can do a marathon. Maybe next time we'll do that. But if you guys enjoyed this, please give us some likes, some shares, comment. Actually, comments are better. I'm gonna, Sonja, I don't know if you'll post this. I'm gonna see if I can download it. It's 3 hours. So I'll see what that looks like. We might have to see if we can chop it up or whatever. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this conversation, please let us know. Like I said, and I also will be doing Sunday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time with the Real Radical Revolutionary. And we're going to be talking about, these stigmas outside of dating, but talking about the stigmas, family structures, politics, and also having fun in the kitchen and stuff like that too. So hopefully you guys will join for those types of things. But Sonja, I might be popping up in Playa. Well, actually, yeah, I don't know. It kind of depends on your schedule. So we'll see. Maybe I'll see you at your stomping grounds.
Yeah, I have to do like an actual in-person conversation.
Yeah, we have so much.
Yeah, one of the ladies here, I was like, yeah, I want to start doing in-person panels to where we'll just kind of sit at the table and have wine. There was like a red table talk. I'm like, oh no, Lord, not like no red table talk.
But I love it. I mean, I love it. I think I used to, when we first hit COVID, I actually did Zooms, and we actually did movie nights, and we would all watch the same movie. And it was cocktails and heels or something. And so all the women had to wear heels in your living room. Like, we'd all have on pajamas and heels and your cocktail, and we'd all watch the same movie at the same time. So so we can still do things online, and stuff, or if you want to invite people and across the world, because this I think is our future. And that's why this aspect of it, I think, is so important, so that we can have a full, abundant life. We can have everything. We can have money. We can have family. We can have children. We can have adventure and all of that. But if we don't account for love, then, God put us here to he gave man, woman, and woman, man, for a reason, for companionship. So all of us deserve companionship. So Sonja, let everybody else know again how they can reach you, how they can follow you.
You can follow me on subscribe and view my videos on YouTube, and it's Sonja Unapologetic, and also on Instagram under Sonja Unapologetic, and Twitter it's SS Unapologetic. So all together, SS Unapologetic on Twitter. Okay. So IG, YouTube, Twitter. Yeah, I appreciate the follows and subscriptions and all of that.
Yes, and then when you come out with your new script, you'll be letting us.
Yeah, also I'm a screenwriter as well. You'll see on my YouTube channel, you'll see 2 of my short films that I wrote and produced. And yeah, look out for the future, because right now I'm working on a web series with some other Dallas writers, and I'll also be spending my time here in Playa del Carmen, also focusing on some feature film screenplays. So yeah, so let's see how that all works out.
Look at you doing everything. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. Again, thank you. You guys know how to reach me. Look at my bio. All my links are there. My travel course, my merchandise, my yoga stuff, links if you want private yoga. I'm probably going to start doing that weekly again. And then my Eat with Ali stuff, I didn't mention this earlier. That's all out there if you want to get access to recipes. And actually, I'm moving the platform, so maybe I should put that one on hold. But anyway, I will also be coming out with a financial detox ebook that is going to be very short, but I'm going to share with you how I paid off $24,000 in debt in 1 year, and how you can do it too. So I'm not a financial advisor, but I was able to do this on my own without any companies. What are they? Debt consolidation companies or anything like that. So I paid all my fees to my bills, and I can show you exactly how to do that. So I'm going to be rolling that out because I think that'll be helpful for a lot of people, especially with what's going on right now in the world. Like it's, you know, it's kind of hard to figure out how to move forward and do this. And I already mentioned the travel course. And you guys can follow me here or on YouTube. I'm Where's Ali. My main handle is Where's Ali, but on Instagram I'm Where to Next _Ali. I actually have 3 Instagrams, but we won't talk about the other 2 because it's just too much. It's too much. So if you want to follow my travel journey, you'll primarily see it on Instagram, and I will be actually doing a lot more reels, like old stuff that I never ever posted from my travels. I'm going to be doing some reels and just getting some stuff out there so you guys can just have an idea of what the world looks like, you know, when you're out in it. So anyway, y'all, we're over 3 hours. We're going to end this now. Thank you, Sonja, so much for jumping on. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, commenting, sharing your thoughts and perspectives with us. If you catch this on the replay, please feel free to comment, and we will jump in and respond to you and all of that. We like to keep this dialogue moving and shaking because there is no right or wrong answer. There's just what feels right for you. Living it, loving it. Live your life, you guys. And you guys, we're going to get out of here. And maybe we'll have another one of these conversations soon, but I'll check you guys later. Sonja, be safe out there in Playa.
You as well.
And you guys know the drill. Toodles and noodles. Peace and hair grease.
Bye-bye.
Bye.